northwesterly gusts possible up to 25 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear, though winds becoming light tonight, becoming breezy again by daybreak. For tomorrow morning, a low of 34. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KUTV Newswatch 7.
1620, The Zone. Traffic.
From the Plumrite Timesaving Traffic Center. Right now, nothing causing any major traffic delays, just a couple things to be aware of. A disabled vehicle on I-80 eastbound just after 680 exit 446, and a disabled semi-I-29 southbound just after 24th Street exit 1. I will get more updates to you as they come in, but for now, just stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Everyone looks good with a touch of gray, especially when it's one of 8 new gray 2025 trucks you could win in Trucks and Bucks from the Nebraska Lottery. Buy a ticket today and experience the power of gray. Top prize odds 1 in 336,000.
Novas Nation, your Omaha Supernovas are in first place and on the hunt for another pro volleyball championship. Be a part of the title chase on Thursday, February 27th as the Supernovas battle the Orlando Valkyries and welcome home Creighton volleyball legends Nora Sis and Maddie Bilanovic. Then see former Supernova Sydney Hilly as the action continues on March 2nd against the Indy Ignite. Secure your seats now at the CHI box office or by visiting supernovas.com.
Did you know that Americorps programs improve lives, strengthen communities, and foster civic engagement in Nebraska? For example, members serving with Americorps programs like Partnership for Kids provide kids with the support they need to succeed in school and prepare for their dream career. Discover more about Americorps programs making a difference in your community at serve.nebraska.gov. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you're looking for the ultimate movie experience, ACX Cinema 12 Plus has it all. Heated recliners, an epic 70-foot screen, and Dolby Atmos sound for a fully immersive experience in ACX Infinity. Plus, enjoy our arcade and bar for the perfect night out. Get your tickets now and make your next movie night unforgettable with ACX Cinemas.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like those clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're considering a career in broadcasting, 1620 The Zone and the Nebraska Broadcasters Association Foundation can help you become part of this exciting field. 3 $2,000 scholarships are available to 4-year college and university students who will have completed 30 credits as of May 31st, 2025. Let us help you reach your career goals. For more information, contact 1620 The Zone or click ne-ba.org. Application deadline is March 1st, 2025.
OPPD and MUD host the 18th annual Heat the Streets Run and Walk for Warmth at Exarban Village on Saturday, March 1st. Funds raised benefit utility assistance programs for both MUD and OPPD. The utilities are calling on the community to come together to help make a difference for customers in need by supporting the Heat the Streets Run and Walk for Warmth through participation, sponsorship, or donation. Registration is open through February 26th. Visit heatthestreetsomaha.org. Participants may also register on-site the morning of the event.
Deciding on a college with your high school senior can be a little overwhelming for parents. But applying for money to pay for it is simple. FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is now easier than ever with fewer questions and faster fill-out times. If you have a high school senior, now is the time to apply for thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing. Get started, Nebraska, at dothefafsa.org. Sponsored by Education Quest Foundation. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This basketball season, when your favorite stars score buckets, we're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can with Underdog. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, like points, assists, rebounds, and more. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at the NBA. Hey, football's over. It's time to start making some money on basketball, and I did over the weekend, and you can too. Download the Underdog app. Sign up now using promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code ZONE. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Omaha Maverick Hockey is back home at Baxter Arena this weekend as they welcome Arizona State. You can listen to the games this weekend on News Talk 1290 Coil. It's UNO versus Arizona State on your home for Maverick Hockey. News Talk 1290 Coil.
Your old or broken phone can let you down, but at Verizon, trade in any old phone from our top brands and get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence with a new line on My Plan and iPad and Apple Watch Series 10. After all, you don't want your old phone to die on you when you're lost.
Perfect.
Or for your broken phone to glitch at the worst possible time.
Hey, can I get your number?
Oh. Trade in your old phone for a brand new iPhone 16 Pro, iPad, and Apple Watch. Visit Verizon.com today. Additional terms apply. Service plan required for Apple Watch and iPad.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard.
1620 The Zone. Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. 1620thezone.com and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Matt, and Jimmy.
Happy Hump Day, everybody. We've made it to Wednesday. Fake spring is in full effect here in Omaha.
Heck yeah. Hump Day. Mike.
I haven't seen that commercial in a while.
You know
what?
what?
It became so annoying they kicked it off television? Hey, what are you doing over there pulling a happer? Look at that.
Sorry.
You get on happer about that and you pull the same thing?
That was a bad look. That was a bad look right there. I just became a hypocrite right then and there.
My man is struggling today, Jimmy.
I am not struggling
He was
today.
late. I beat him here.
Look at me.
Whoa.
Do you think look at me?
You
think I'm struggling today? I got the quarters.
I think you're going to be on the struggle bus. You're a little rattled here today.
No,
you
I
got
am
here
not.
late.
I'm sweating.
You rolled in late.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
We got computer issues.
No
Come
issues.
on, man. Get your stuff together.
I rolled in a little bit later than usual, but we're okay. We're recovering.
This
It's
is
a
why you
hump day.
script your first 15 plays. Get going.
That's true. Good point. Good point. But happy Hump Day, everybody. Welcome in. It is fake spring in full effect. There's nothing like driving around with the windows open. Left here yesterday, and I thought, you know what? I'm already wearing shorts and the hoodie, so I'm into the fake spring wardrobe. Rolled the windows down, hit the car wash yesterday, hit the golf course.
Oh.
Yes.
That was a swing. Mid-season form?
No, I mean, I was just kind of messing around.
Are we getting the hips through? We're making sure they're connected.
I think everything was working. I feel okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knees good.
Yeah.
Less explosiveness through the calves.
Cart path only.
We're making sure we're squashing the bug here, and make sure that elbow is kind of on that hip a little bit to make sure we're coming through on the ball.
I just didn't want you to hurt yourself.
I'm never going to play golf with you.
I don't think you ever want to play. Well, like I told you before, I
was just hoping you had a good day.
I'm a high vibes guy. I'm the vibes guy. I'm not the scratch guy.
I don't need a hype guy sitting in the cart with me.
But it's not a hype guy. It's more so like we're just keeping it moving. I'm playing the tunes. I'm having a couple drinks. I'm making a couple funny jokes. When I come, when I shank the ball left and right. It's all about keeping the vibes high. I'm the least serious player with all the other serious players.
So for people that would like an extra.
Yeah, I'm a great fourth.
If you need a cheerleader, Matt is for
not
you.
a cheerleader.
He might not be the golf guy, but he'll be the cheerleader for everybody. Make sure everybody gets drinks, that they're well hydrated.
Transfusion.
Yeah.
You didn't know what a transfusion was until I told you what it was.
I know. At the turn, you grab your grease missile. It's Matt that sprints. He's like, guys, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Anyone want a chip? We're okay. We want chips? Okay.
Matt would be the guy for you that replaces your divot.
Yeah.
No, I don't go that far. I'm not a caddy. I'm not a caddy. I'm not a chauffeur.
I think you gave the impression of you could be the caddy.
No.
You'd be the caddy that once in a while would take a swing. Yeah. But you'd be like, Daryl, man, hey, you'll get him on the next hole. It's going to be okay.
Hang in there.
Do you know when this is the perfect example of me being a caddy. No, use your 6. You've been hitting it great. Use the 6 here. No, don't worry about the 5. If you're a little short, you're fine. It'll roll up.
See, I feel
Greens
better.
are fast today.
He's calming
No,
me.
use your 6. Be killing that ball.
He's the Jack Haley.
Yeah, that's what
Rest
you can
in
do on
peace
the
of
side.
group.
Just be a caddy.
You know,
I get you some caddy work in town. There's a couple of places that are definitely looking for like midday caddies.
You'll get your steps in.
Can you imagine if I just like I was a caddy at like a municipal course? Like they didn't even have caddies at the course. I would just stand outside the course and be like, "Hey, caddy for hire. Give me $50 right now."
This is a good experiment.
Yeah,
you should go over because it's right around the corner. You should go to Elmwood Park and wait outside of the clubhouse.
Yeah,
where people, everybody hangs on the benches before it's time to go tee off on one. You should hang out there and go, we need a caddy.
Need a caddy?
I'll caddy for you today.
I'll caddy for you. Yeah, why not? That'd be great content. Mm-hmm. You and I do a bet, and the loser has to caddy.
I don't think that's good. I don't think that's a good bet. That might be good content. I don't think that's a good bet. Yeah, I'm not
afraid of losing that bet.
I'm just here for Matt
I'm not afraid
picking
of
people
losing
up,
it. I just don't want
to.
I would not make a good caddy. I'd be a terrible caddy.
I think I'd be a pretty good caddy.
Are you a better caddy than an actual golfer?
Oh, without a doubt. Which is why I'm the fourth. Which is why I'm on the course.
You're the cheerleader.
Because I don't like the word cheerleader. I just think vibes are contagious on the golf course.
Hey, Mike, what did you get on 3 there? You're the guy that keeps the scorecard as well?
Yeah, why not? And I keep the, if they're betting the holes too, or if they're playing, the little tips and everything, I'll keep the little score on the side. I'll make sure that everybody's bets are going through. At the end of the round, hey, you got a Venmo here, you got a Venmo there. I mean, look, I keep it together. I'm the mom of the group.
I like this. Call timeout and just go have a chat with Matt. Like I need a timeout.
Matt's the kind of guy like we get to 14 and Bob realizes that he left his putter back on the 13th green.
Oh, I'm not going
and
back.
Matt's like, no problem, Bob. I'll go get it.
No.
He goes,
I'm not getting your clubs.
You take your weapons, and then I'll take the cart and I'll go get it for you before you get to the green. And then you like excitedly just speed off, go pick up his putter and come back and go, Bob, I got it. As Bob's in the middle of the fairway, ready for his second shot.
No, I'm not. Look, wouldn't you agree that
you'd make a good cheerleader? Hell yes.
Wouldn't you agree that if you're
the pump up hype guy? If you guys are having a bad day, you got to force them playing. You know what? Guys are just the stock market crashed, so they're having a bad day, but they're out on the course.
He's the ray of light.
You're the guy that comes along and you brighten up everybody's day.
Wouldn't you agree that if you were in a cart with someone who was negative vibes and you were in a cart with someone with positive vibes, you are more likely to score better with the person with positive vibes in the cart as opposed to the negative vibes in the cart? What if every time you came back to the cart and the person you were driving with was MFing it? They're like, oh my God, I'm so mad. This is great. The grass is too soft. The greens are too fast. This, I can't hit this club. I always hit this club. Wouldn't you score better with the guy who's like, hey, that was a good shot, man. No, you're fine. No, you're going to be okay. And then I make a couple jokes and we drive up. Wouldn't you shoot better with me?
He'd be a good co-pilot in general.
Problem is, that's a bad question for me because I don't take it very serious. Like, I like to play a lot, but I'm not, like, if I have a bad hole, it's not going to kill me for the rest of the day.
What if you have 3
I'm on to
bad
the next
holes?
one.
You had 3 bad holes.
Depends on who I'm playing with. Like I do have tiers of people that I like to play with that are of my skill set, which I'm not a great golfer. That they're, we're gonna spray it around a little bit, but we're gonna hit some good shots. Then I unfortunately get stuck with a couple of friends who are like do business on the course, so they're really, really good, and I can't play with them. I can only play with them a couple times a year because it's embarrassing. And then, I got people like play a lot and they go, hey, want to take you to this course. And you're like, oh, I'd like to go to that course, but can we play with someone else?
No.
Like, can you hook me up with somebody that might,
that won't silently judge me or think that I might be holding back their round because I'm not as good as them. I think that might be because you're an etiquette guy, for sure. I'm an etiquette guy too. I think that might be the worst feeling when your play might be hindering the play of others.
Yeah. And I also, I do feel embarrassed. Like if I'm playing with people that are of a much better skill set and I take too long.
Which is, but listen,
like because
this is why you love to play with me.
Win it.
This is why you love to play with me because I don't care. I'm not going to hold you back. Gary, you can take 8 strokes.
I think he's giving you a sales pitch here.
Yeah, see, I think you got something here.
I do.
You are the guy in the extra cart that drives behind the foursome. And you're like pumping up. You're like, guys, we're on to the next hole. Hey, I saw what Johnson and Johnson were doing back there. We got a chance, guys, in this scramble. Hey, let's go. You're the one that gets everybody together.
There's a gleam, man.
1, 2, 3, family. Right there on the tee box.
Together on 6.
Yeah.
Hey, do we need the cart girl? We need the cart girl. Where is she? Where's Carol?
You're like, hey, I got it.
Where's
I got
Bailey?
it, guys.
Where's Bailey?
I got it, guys.
Hey.
Yeah.
Bailey's in bed right now.
No.
Get her to go cross 4 fairways. No. Daryl needs a beer. Daryl needs Coors. Come on. Babe,
There is something about fake spring this time of the year, as we're at the end of February, where people's moods are a lot different. Like people were happy yesterday.
Oh yeah,
like
even me, which is a big deal. Oh yeah.
Whoa,
the snow
fake
melted.
Spring works.
Yeah, the dog was happy. Her toilet's back. It was a great day.
I realize I'm kind of getting cabin fever.
She doesn't like snow.
Don't bury the lead.
She doesn't like sno at all.
Oh, okay.
So we have issues when.
So I would think that the love you have for your dog. I was thinking this was indoor.
Oh no.
Oh, it's outdoor.
No,
okay.
she goes outdoors in the grass. So yeah, she was thrown off when I was like, "Wait, I have my grass back. It's 70 degrees. Why didn't you tell me?"
People were. This was a good mood town yesterday. Unless you were talking about the streetcar in the mayoral election.
Man, I'm riveted with the Wisconsin Supreme Court election that's going to be taking place fairly soon.
Commercials on BTN again?
Oh my God. It's every game. It doesn't matter who's playing on BTN either. It could be USC versus Rutgers. They're rolling about the Wisconsin Supreme Court election.
See, then you should stay off the SEC network because
I
don't know what coming up in April. They've got a couple of hotly contested races in Alabama.
Racist with
that might be a little bit more extreme than
they go from like a hot upbeat SEC network promo to a political commercial watching the Georgia-Florida game last night. And I was like, okay. I mean, know your audience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know. That was I'm going to be checking in on the Wisconsin Supreme Court election now.
But I notice in this town,
Karen
man,
Jackson pulls it out.
Our yard signs are starting to Gene and Mike.
Yeah.
They're all over the town.
Where's Otson?
All right, welcome in, everybody. On a Wednesday, the 26th of February. If you're an Alabama fan, this is a huge day for you. You love, not just because you're having whatever political race that has bought time on the SEC network. This is a big day for Alabama fans. Huge day. They celebrate this day like none other. I don't know how they celebrate in Alabama, but specifically in Tuscaloosa, this is a monster day. This is 2nd and 26th day for the people that reside in Alabama. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. It was a big game, big win for them yesterday. I don't.
So it is this is actually like a real thing in Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
On February 26th, they celebrate 2nd and 26. The touchdown pass from Tua to Devontae to win the national championship over Georgia on 2nd down and 26, which, Jimmy, is that the only national championship football game in our lifetime that's ended on a walk-off?
I believe so, because when you even Miami, Ohio State was a defensive stand at the end. So, I think that's the only one that's a walk-off.
Wasn't Clemson with Renfro?
I don't think so.
Was that the final
play? It was a
or
game-winning touchdown, but it wasn't the final play.
That wasn't the final play.
So celebrate accordingly in Tuscaloosa and the state of Alabama if you are a Roll Tide. And also look at the rosters in that game and where they are now.
Well, just what you said, Tua to Devontae.
All right, coming up on the show, John Walker's going to stop by. There's a beatdown that's going to come tonight. The Chicago boys are in town. They're going to get their ass kicked. I'm just telling you right now. I don't know why you'd waste your time and go to the chai, sit at home, watch it on the cock, because
that's going, though.
Creighton is in hammer mode whenever they play Depaul, trying to win their 22nd straight game. John Walker stops by, coming up at 9, and then Brandon Vogel slides in about 9:40. That's the lineup brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Now, you think I'm kidding. I'm going to tell you, and I don't discourage people from going because it's a good time. It is an 8 o'clock game tonight between Creighton and Depaul, so it's a ball day here in the Big O, as Creighton has won 21 in a row against Depaul, 26 of 27. Oh, for the love of Tom Kleinschmidt.
That game, by the way, minus 16.5 is the spread for the Jays.
That was the beer count.
Yeah, so I'm just going to tell you how this is going to go, and I'm going to be right. I know I will be right. DePaul is struggling a little bit. They've lost 5 in a row. I think the average margin of defeat is about 15 points.
By the way, you could have said that at any point of this season. That exact same
Chris
sentence.
Holtman went in the non-con, and you're like, okay, I could see that.
Well,
higher.
they were,
and then the Big East kicks in.
They were playing Mary Wisdom of the Blind.
A win is a win. Do you think Dusty May is apologizing?
No,
a win is a win.
No. He's not apologizing.
And
DePaul needed that too in order to actually get some wins.
The thing about the Big East is at the bottom, like the top hammers the bottom. Like that's the one thing Creighton does. Like they play Sisters of the Poor.
They don't play with their food.
Which is not good within the Jesuit community, like when you hammer the Sisters of the Poor. They don't like that.
No.
They blow them out. So here's what's going to happen tonight. Again, I'm not discouraging anybody going. I don't know if there's a giveaway. They having a stripe out. This should be the dollar beer.
I don't know.
I think it is.
It's a great chance to watch the
It is a cool
Jays.
night because it is for Josh Dotzler. I think it is the Abide night, which is always a cool event. But this is Blowout City, baby. This is how this works. Is the game will start. Blocker, not a bad sophomore guard for Depaul, will hit a shot or two. It might be like 6-2 Depaul. Maybe at the first time out, it's like 8-4.
They should be yelling.
And then maybe at the second time out, it's like 16-12 Creighton. And you're like, Then by halftime, Creighton is up 14. And then it turns into the second half where it's Blowout City. And they cover the spread handsomely. And you have to have a program to realize everybody is playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's how it's going to be tonight. Creighton will win by at least 20 against Depaul. Well, I don't want to say 20 because they're going to empty the bench and Depaul might continue to play hard. And
This might be 19.
Yeah, so it'll be in that range. But this will.
But it was 27.
This is Blowout City. I mean, get your hot dog special going. Blowout City tonight against Depaul.
There's only 2 home games.
I think
right?
you're missing something, though. It'll be 16-12, and then Depaul right out of that timeout will hit a 3, and we'll make it 16-15.
It'll be a tension convention then?
It'll be for like a couple seconds. It'll be like, is this real? Like, is this going to be a thing? And then it'll be like a good old 12-0 run, timeout Depaul. Mac walks out. Chai's on their feet.
That
and
does
then
make sense.
It's just a run. So there will be that like 30-second of like, we really doing this? We really gonna? This is gonna be a game, and then it won't be a game. It's the only.
They just don't drop those kind of games.
No,
they don't. Like, there's no. Oh my God, a 16.5 point underdog is going to upset Creighton. That doesn't happen.
But I don't think you can. Like, you just really can't. And if we're comparing it to the other Nebraska basketball team, or the one in Lincoln at least, like.
Thank you for pointing out.
Of course.
Thank you for pointing out.
You
Omaha.
don't really have those like.
Omaha got good news yesterday, by the way.
You do have good news about that? Yeah.
Omaha got really good news yesterday. But continue on.
Like, you don't.
Shout out Durango.
The Big East doesn't really provide that. You're absolutely right. Like, the Big East doesn't provide we're playing the team in the bottom of the conference, but we still got to bring our A game. And it might be like, no. Like, once you get past Xavier and Villanova, who are kind of like in the middling group of that, the bottom just falls out with Butler and Seton Hall and DePaul. And it's just like, that's the benefit. And it's part of the reason why that conference gets 4 bids or 3 bids a year, because it's just the rest of those teams get to play really, really bad teams for a big portion of their schedule. I mean, look at the Big Ten and like the run that Minnesota has been able to go on, and the run that Northwestern has been able to go on the last end of the season. Like, we're talking about teams at the bottom of the conference who at any point in time can just go off and rattle off big wins. And then look at UCLA and Oregon, who are at one point at the top of the conference, and they can lose 5 in a row and 6 in a row. And like, I think that people sometimes like maybe tongue in cheek compare those two conferences here and there. That's the big difference. You can lose almost any single night in the Big Ten. I don't think you can say the same thing against the Big East.
So we're saying that St. John's will wrap up the conference tonight at Butler.
Should.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on a limb.
They haven't won a conference. They haven't won a outright or a share since 91-92.
That was like Louis last year, I think.
Jeez. That's a long time.
That was.
For a program that in the 80s, you couldn't tell the story without talking about St. John's.
We were both in school then.
That's right.
Not in the same grade, but that doesn't matter.
No,
we were in school.
That's true. There's another thing. Like, if Creighton wins tonight, I was thinking about this because Omaha's going for their 19th win on Saturday. And like in the Summit League, winning 20, and Omaha's program winning 20 is a big deal.
Yeah.
You remember when winning 20 games in a year was a big deal?
That was the deal.
Like tonight, Creighton would win their 20th, and they still have, 3 games left? But 20 wins was like, oh, if you had a good season, you won 20 games.
What do you think that number is now? Like
now,
25?
unless you're a mid-major program, you don't even like bat your eye. Oh, we won 20. Like Drake. What has Drake had? Like 5 straight years where they've won 25 or more.
Yeah.
They have some weird, but yeah, if Creighton wins tonight, they win 20 and it'll get a mention, but it's not as big of a deal like 10, 15 years ago where we went, oh my God, they won 20 games.
I think
now you play a little bit more, but
20 now, especially for the power conferences, is like considered, and I'm not especially for the power conferences, 20 is considered like the minimum a little bit. Like
20
if you're going to get into the tournament, it starts at 20.
Yeah.
You can't have anything under than 20. I would say like 26 to 27 is when you start to be like, oh, wow, they had a really good year. Like and it's interesting just how
or 30.
the shifts in that change and everything like that.
All right, that's an 8 o'clock tip tonight at the Chai. Creighton is the no stream team, as they are trying to avoid appearing on the Peacock at MSG.
But they'll
be on the Peacock tonight. But they will not be at the right now. They're a no stream team.
It's good. It's good quality. The only reason I had an issue with this Sunday is because I just wasn't home.
As much as sometimes we complain about the streaming services of you got to bounce from Netflix to Peacock to Amazon to whatever else
The Plus
is out there, the production and the delivery is pretty good.
Way better.
Like Apple TV and Netflix, Major League Baseball and NFL respectively, looked really good. The presentation for basketball and Peacock and football is really good. But the first 5 games at MSG for the Big East tournament are on Peacock. Right now, Creighton is a no-stream team at the Big East tournament. Keep it that way to keep people happy.
I think another thing, too, like Prime. Like, I don't know if Prime has the best people. I don't know if they've hired the best staff for their Thursday night football, but at least the graphics and the camera work and the sound, like just the actual like presentation of it. I'm not the biggest fan of their pregame. I'm cool with their booth, but like the actual visuals of it, I mean, they do one hell of a job.
I mean, 4D with Amazon on Thursday nights.
Oh, yeah.
That's a banger.
No. And like, at first, I think, obviously, with a lot of fans, that I was very anti-streaming services taking, pro sports, because it's like, all right, here's another thing that we have to buy in order to watch these things happen. And I think that like people get annoyed at it. But now that it's the norm, I respect the fact that these services who know that you have to pay a little bit extra in order to watch their product put in that extra effort to make sure it's an actual good presentation, and that I'm not going to be annoyed with stupid graphics or like, bad camera work or like the colors are off or just bad booths. Like, I know that when I watch an Amazon Prime game, I'm not going to get annoyed by any of that. I'm just going to get annoyed by the fact that I have to watch the Cleveland Browns play the Tennessee Titans. Like, that's my only gripe.
I mean, everybody just nodded terrible when he said that. I remember the Jacksonville, Tennessee games.
I wish everybody that did streaming services would hold your high standards. Because like BTN Plus, you pay for that.
It's not.
And you got some Flow Sports. Like when the university is in charge at some places, I want my money back.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
But I don't know what any recourse is though. That's the thing. Sure. Like, okay, you're watching Nebraska Rutgers baseball and they have a 1-camera shoot, but yet you paid. I mean, you
pay like $11.99 a month.
I don't know, like, who do you complain to? And Rutgers goes, it's baseball. Come on.
But I think that they make way too much money on that product for the headquarters in Chicago to come in and be like, hey, everybody, we're going to go to all 18 schools and we're going to put in a better camera, right behind home plate, and we'll put a camera in the outfield and we'll just switch back and forth and we'll give you an actual production. They wouldn't do that because Big Ten Plus is a bit of a premium for them, if you will. Like,
unless
I don't
you got
know.
the free code from USC.
Yeah. And Oregon had it too, and multiple people gave it to me. I was already paying for it at that point, so I was like, meh, whatever. But like, I don't think there is any like skin in the game for them. Like, I think that if Big Ten Plus like went under, I don't think the Big Ten Network is like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Yeah. Like, it's almost as if it's a luxury for you to be able to watch those sports, and they don't put any money or effort into it.
It's more than what we had.
Yeah, we're lucky around here with 3 Division I programs that stream a lot of sports.
Yeah,
and like Olympic sports, that they do put effort into it, and they have some really good people. But like Flow Sports is really expensive.
It does not.
And there's a lot of Big East stuff that is on Flow Sports, and it's like, come on, I'm paying a lot of money, and I'm getting just I don't care about the play-by-play. I mean, you mute it,
sure,
but just the presentation and following the ball or the puck or.
Can I not get a camera? Can you not get a camera that looks like you bought it in 1983?
Like, it's a good year.
Like, can we? Yeah, sure. But like,
Dr. J won his ring.
Just make it look better. Just make it look like presentable. But I do give a lot of credit, and you brought it up, and I want to make sure I get it out there. The Big Ten Plus over at University of Nebraska, like, they actually invest in that and make sure that like that stuff looks good, and like don't allow people who aren't good at what they do in that realm to
firsthand
operate. Yeah. So, but there are some schools, Jimmy, who don't give a rat's butt about any of that stuff. And they just trot out whoever. And
Good
it's
morning,
just like,
Purdue.
When you're earlier in the year and you're trying to figure out how Purdue is going to do without Zach Edey and they're playing St. Peter's, I kind of want to see what they look like a little bit in the first 8 minutes of the game.
It's a rough watch.
And it looks like crap.
I don't know that I've watched a Purdue basketball game on Big Ten Plus.
I watched a Nebraska women's game at Purdue. That was my experience.
How was
Purdue.
it?
It was awful.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember who won,
Purdue
but it was
productions
rough.
Purdue,
Really?
Purdue productions aren't the best. Illinois is
Not everyone
fine.
can have a good broadcasting school. That's how I
Because
took it.
I would have to watch.
So I'm guessing if you have a good broadcasting school, you probably have a good streaming.
I think so, right, Matt?
non-major
Northwestern. Northwestern. does
Oh,
it
of
up.
course.
I'd
Everything
hope
comes back
so.
to Northwestern.
They do it
Next
up.
thing you're to tell me is that
Indiana-
Martinelli should be first team All Big Ten ahead of Bryce Williams.
Not ahead of
Zach
Bryce Williams,
Kustok,
but,
underrated.
Mick Martinelli's had one hell of a year. Glenbrook South kid. Look, I'll tell you this right now. Like Indiana's got a pretty good Big Ten Plus too.
Yeah.
I mean, like they invested
I
in.
have
They
seen
got
some
some
women's
high,
basketball that looks really good.
They got some high level, like high definition cameras.
Some good
over there that
announcers
they
too.
use. They do. You know, it's if you care about it, and this is about anything. If you care about it and you take pride in it, you're going to have a good product.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the Big Ten Plus should not cost what it costs. I should not be paying $11.99 a month for Big Ten
That's
Plus.
true.
Hey,
You
we'll
get
just-
out of it what you put
absolutely
into it.
We need to wait for another school to come into the league next fall, so they'll give us the free code.
Hey, get that free Clemson code.
Hey.
Get that free Clemson code.
People in Chicago were not happy about that.
About what?
More Nebraska zip codes use the BTN Plus login with the USC free code than people did in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
People in
Oh, yeah.
Nebraska care about sports.
That's great.
People in Nebraska are smarter than people in LA.
And
that's
that's
kind of
the
what the
takeaway.
takeaway. Yeah, that's what the takeaway is. Here.
I didn't know that was a hot take or something that we had to deduce. I thought that was kind of just
Nebraska's
something that
smart.
was assumed.
All right, a little bit later, we'll get into tonight's Creighton Depaul game as the season is winding down. 18 days from Selection Sunday. John Walker will stop by. Brandon Vogel with a thought or two on a multitude of things. We come back. Omaha, speaking of Omaha, where we take pride in living in the Big O and fake spring, is in the national news. We'll get into that when we come back. It's Gary, Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in on a Wednesday, the 26th of February. We do not have a 2nd and 26 around here. What would we have?
That's a great question.
I mean, I'm sure they've been plenty of 2nd and 26s, but there haven't been a touchdown after.
We don't have that date. Like,
yeah.
like in Iowa, as I was mentioning yesterday, they
6-4.
celebrate June 4th, the 6-4. Tua to Smith. 2nd and 26 from 41 out to win it.
You'd be who I'd ask what
Nebraska
could have.
There's always a no-sit Sunday. Like anytime there's a no-sit Sunday, like there always is like an anniversary on Twitter. Like that's always that one event that people always refer back to. It's going to be the 11-year anniversary. Coming up here in March.
And we should never have one again.
No, we shouldn't.
That was one of the more magical days in the history of that building.
No, we absolutely should not.
One person sat, everybody else stood for an entire game. It was crazy. It was crazy that for 40 minutes of basketball and a good portion of halftime, people were standing. And it started as a groundswell from Miles, and it took off, and it beat Wisconsin. That was a fun year. A little bit later, Nebraska basketball had a good day yesterday. They had a really good day, in my opinion, yesterday. But you know who had a really, really good day? And thank God they had a great day so Omaha is in the news. Yesterday morning during our show, the busy, but a little bit complicated right now, Eppley Airfield. You guys been to the airport lately?
Yes. I haven't been to the airport lately, no.
So
not in over a year, but.
So I was there a week ago. Progress is moving along, and when it gets done in 26 and 27, I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fantastic. You got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to pay attention to what's going on because they've split the concourses and they got a lot of stuff going on at Eppley. But yesterday morning, and I cannot get enough of the coverage of this event. Yesterday morning at 7:30, a Southwest flight left from Omaha, headed to Midway.
Oh.
See, when I fly Southwest, I'd rather fly into Midway than O'Hare.
Right.
But I don't mind either airport, but it depends on where I'm going in Matt's home city. So yesterday, leaves at 7:30, flying into Midway, okay? Weather was really, really nice. But now, as you guys all know, you've seen the video.
Yeah.
An incredible moment yesterday as the flight from right here in Omaha that originated the Southwest airline avoided tragedy. Now, we have gone, and I would rather fly than drive.
Right.
And
same.
Don't even bat an eye. And we've gone through a long stretch of where we have not had any serious accidents. But we're about a month, 6 weeks where it seems like every other day there is something happening, either a close call or we've had some crashes. And my God, did we avoid a tragedy yesterday? And they haven't released the name of the pilot. And I don't know if it was an Omaha-based crew, but whoever that is that pulled the go-around maneuver. So the Southwest flight, if you've not seen this, you got to go see this because this is amazing. This is amazing when you consider a week ago the Delta flight coming from Minneapolis, Toronto on the runway, touchdown, and then flipped upside down. Everybody's going to get $30,000.
That's crazy.
And nobody died, which was the most important thing. So this flight from Southwest is about to land on a runway at Midway, and this small private jet, which was not authorized to be on this runway, is like cutting into the path of where this Southwest flight is going to land.
Yeah.
So does the go-around maneuver, and boom, touches, and then immediately goes up and avoids a tragedy. But here's the thing as this unfolds, and you start to see video come out. Somebody from,
air traffic control?
No, it was somebody because I don't think the air traffic control is at Midway. It's a ways away from Midway.
Okay.
Somebody had really, really good video that they released immediately. And then once the plane landed, then the news started to come out. But can you imagine if you were on this flight and the entire Concordia track and field team, the indoor track and field team, they're going to the NAIA championships. They were on that flight yesterday morning from Omaha to Chicago. Can you imagine? Because you're probably, you're preparing like we all do. It's just natural. You land. And then all of a sudden they pull up and you're like,
what happened?
Okay, But if like the plane doesn't jar or anything like that,
you wouldn't know. You would have no clue.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, they gotta circle around. But then you get off the plane, and I'm sure that the pilot probably did not mention what happened, but you get off the plane and you start seeing on social media that the plane that you were on almost was a tragedy, if not for this pilot that pulled this move. And I can't imagine walking through Midway and you're looking at your phone and you're like, oh my God, I was on that flight. That is why and then popped right back up. Oh my God.
Can you imagine you're on that flight and they do that pull-up maneuver and you're sitting and you're like, hey, what the, I got a connector to catch. What are we doing here? This is ridiculous. Like why did you land?
Home,
we're right here. Like I got a wife at home. I got like family. You just delayed me by 20 minutes. Why the heck are we pulling up? And then you go in, you look at the phone, you're like, oh, I almost died. I could have been seriously hurt. That's crazy. By the way, the instincts on this pilot, because it's if you watch the video, it's not like, now to be fair, maybe he's got a better sight of it coming in, but you have to imagine.
So that's a great point, because his eyes, as you land, and I've watched a lot of TikToks, and there are a lot more aviation people that are on TikTok that will explain how in the hell we get in the air.
Yeah.
Like, how can we just take off and we can fly at 30,000 feet like this? But you see a lot of pilots will have a camera in the cockpit, and it'll show you, like, some of the neater airports, like Logan, you land basically on the water, San Francisco, some other places where, San Diego, where you fly right through downtown before you land at the San Diego airport. Like, there's a lot more on TikTok of cockpits where you see those kind of landings where it's kind of like cool. You got some visuals. But there's all, I could never sit into a cockpit because they got buttons and they got lights and there's everything. And they're like, okay, what does this mean? Do you actually, is a computer helping us land? You're driving the wheel, whatever. But then, as you're like, okay, we got it in the computer. We're ready to land here. The fact that the pilot, not only his quick thinking action, and that's what he's trained to do, but that his eyes could see that this meandering private jet was just coming across the runway, and they're on different frequencies with their radios, communication. So it's not like, they can holler at the, Bob that's flying
to stop or anything like that.
Flying the flex jet to, Myrtle Beach. So hell of a move. Man, when I heard it was from Omaha, you're immediately like, oh my God.
Friends.
And then you're like, okay, do I know anybody? But I wonder if it was an Omaha-based crew, because it was the first flight out from maybe not the first flight, but it was the early flight from Southwest. That pilot deserves all the credit in the world, and probably that'll be his last flight, and he'll sell a book and he'll make a movie.
Well, the incredible thing is too is how smooth it was. It didn't look like it just looked like it was a regular, and keep going up. Here's my thing too with the cockpit. I feel like they put buttons in that cockpit just cause. Like, just to make it a little bit more confusing, because there are certain things in industries where they do to scare you away. I'm sure there are a lot of people who wanted to be pilots, and then they walk into that cockpit and they see all those buttons and all the mechanical things and all the things you have to do, and they go, well, that's pretty complicated. Maybe I'll do something else. I feel like they just put buttons in there for no reason that really don't do anything. Or you use it once in a while. Like, if this happens and that happens and that happens and that happens, you use this button that's all the way on the right in the upper right-hand corner.
You might be onto something, because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar seemed to be pushing a lot of buttons in Airplane.
Well,
and he just was pushing buttons to be pushing buttons.
Right, and he drug Walton and Lanier up and down the floor, so it's
you watch the pilot movies. They only use the buttons that are right above them or right in front of them, but they are all surrounding. Right. They are all encompassing buttons.
Pretty.
You think there's like a button for an espresso machine?
I think we need more pilot movies that are not they're not depressing, like the Denzel movie.
Well, like the Airplane movies in the 70s. Well, not Airplane, but the airport
that
movies.
Movie was a great movie. That was a great movie.
It was good.
That was even in my top 5 of Denzel movies.
It was a good movie.
That
But
is-
yes.
It was depressing as F.
So that's what makes good movies good movies.
No.
There was a linear progression of the guy. You wanted to hate him at first because he was this drunk who did irresponsible things, taking hits of oxygen in the cockpit before they took off with a coffee and an aspirin.
I'm hoping on my next flight that my guy on Delta flying to Atlanta is not doing that.
And then he became a hero for his son at the end of the movie, and his son was in jail, and he wanted to write about him. He's his hero. You're my hero.
Ricochet was good. He was great in that.
I think pilot movies should replace mafia movies because we're slowly getting to the point where all the people we love in mafia movies are getting old or dying.
Rest in peace,
And
Ray Liotta.
There you go. And Pesci's old, and Scorsese's old, and De Niro's old, and it's just like, how many more? I mean, do you trust Sebastian Maniscalco to take the reins of making the great mob movies? I don't. No offense to the great comedian.
So back to Flight. So the opening scene, the opening sequence.
We're gonna roll
I think it was great, but it was a very preachy, impossible, plausible final turn. Oh my gosh, this complex movie about a heroic pilot who also happens to be an addict. Oh my gosh, I couldn't see this coming. It was the best part of that movie was the opening.
It was
best part of the movie.
Snakes on a Plane was better than Flight.
The best part of the movie was I haven't seen Snakes on a Plane.
It's a great date movie.
I haven't seen Snakes on a Plane. So
it'd be right up your alley.
It would be.
You'd be like,
But
you'd be
here's
like,
the
how
thing
have
about
I not seen this?
I got a question for you guys. Right?
And you'd buy a snake.
Right? It's just snakes on a plane, right?
You say that till you're stuck on a plane.
I'm not gonna give a spoiler to you, but
I mean, plane.
Yeah.
I mean, there's snakes that are on a plane that pose a problem to isn't it a Nicolas Cage movie, Snakes on a Plane? Or is that Con Air? No, that's Con Air.
That's Con Air.
That's Con Air.
Which, by the way, is one of the top 5 airplane movies of all time.
John Malkovich steals the show.
John
Cyrus
Malkovich.
the Virus.
Can you
Turn in
name
the
me a movie
Skies,
where John
Die
Malkovich
Hard.
doesn't steal the show?
It's true.
It's true.
But no, plane movies are great. I haven't seen Snakes on a Plane. You are so negative on Flight. The best part of Flight is when he's in the hearing and he says, I was drunk that day. I was drunk on the 15th. I was drunk on the 16th. I was drunk on the 17th. In fact, I'm drunk now.
Wow, couldn't see that coming.
Yeah. And I've said
Why'd
that
they
many
make
times in my life.
Denzel
And then
do that?
they got to bring in the coke dealer in order for him to like snort up cocaine so he's no longer drunk.
I did
hearing.
not like Whip Whitaker.
That's right. Yeah.
I liked Flight. I thought Flight was a great movie.
But
The
you'll
opening
love
scene's
Snakes on
great.
a Plane.
Hey, it's better than Sully. Talk about a movie with a strong first scene and then it just falls out of the bottom. Sully.
You did not when they were going into the hearings? That was not a
You're
good
telling
scene?
I just told you that my favorite scene, or one of the best scenes in Flight, was the hearings, and you ixnayed it. But then I tell you the same thing about Sully, and it's back at me? How hypocritical.
How is that hypocritical? The whole movie is good. From the landing on the Hudson to...
Flight is way better than Sully. Flight is 10 times better than Sully. What did Sully do? He just landed it in the water.
Okay.
Denzel rolled a plane.
So
he rolled a plane, hit a church on his way down, saved 103 people on a 107 person flight.
Comes down to this. You're completely wrong. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you know, but Sully is a true story.
It is. I know it's a true story.
Who would you rather have? You know, like when you board the plane and they got the cockpit door open? Okay.
Would I rather have...
Would you rather have a drunk Denzel Washington flying you to Minneapolis, to MSP, or would you have the friendly Tom Hanks, who has given everybody a hearty hello? You betcha.
I would much
We're
rather...
going to the north.
Let me tell you something right now. I don't give a damn that Denzel is drunk when he's flying my plane. He's a damn good pilot, all right? He's a damn good pilot. That was impossible. Literally, 45 other pilots tried doing what he did. None of them saved one life. He was the only one. He was the only one who could do what he did. And he did it. He rolled a plane. The fictional pilot Denzel Washington plays is way better than the real pilot Sully is.
This might be as passionate as I've ever heard him, which is saying something because he's had some passionate opinions.
He rolled the plane.
Brian says about the pilot with the Southwest flight from Omaha to Chicago yesterday, I'll be shocked if the pilot isn't a former Air Force pilot. That was a perfect touch and go, and I'm not sure how much commercial pilots practice those, whereas Air Force pilots practice those for hours. We're not under the nationals. I wonder if that'll be the lead story this morning because,
yeah,
a good amount of people that were on that flight were from Omaha.
Didn't you say, by the way, you want more pilot movies, but you took a big old crap on Flight Risk
I didn't like
couple
Flight.
of days ago?
I didn't like Flight. I did not like. It's probably a little bit okay to be fair here. Okay, so my standards are Airplane. Okay,
okay,
as they should be.
I mean, and
they're high. They're sky high, if you will.
And then Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah,
I mean Samuel L. Jackson.
The airport movies in the early 70s were good.
Like you, I've had it with these M&F and snakes on them. M&F and plane.
They're just snakes on a plane.
No. Oh, it's more than that.
Is there
Top Gun is a better movie than Flight?
Is Alan Rickman like a secret villain in that movie that he's also like trying to get a secret FBI thing, a briefcase or whatever, or trying to steal some money on the plane, and the plane also happens to have snakes? Is that what it is?
He took over a building.
Is Hans Zimmer like? Does he just happen to be another like tertiary villain in this movie?
The composer?
Oh no, who's the? I'm just thinking.
You think Hans Gruber?
Hans Gruber.
Air Force One is also good.
Yeah, that got me at the beginning.
Now, while we're talking about this, the Mark Wahlberg movie Flight Risk appears to be one of the worst movies ever made. Will it be better than Flight? Poll question. All right, plane movies.
Good job.
Didn't know we were going to talk about this.
We got opinions.
This show's like a box of chocolates.
Hey, Flight isn't even in the top 5 of Denzel's best movies.
That is ridiculous statements.
Oh, now I got to look at his catalog.
It's ridiculous statements.
God. Here is Cody. Good morning, Cody.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great, Cody. We needed to weigh in here.
Hey, I was just going to add on to your guys' movie. I think you guys are missing the biggest hero in a plane movie so far was Snoop Dogg being in Soul Plane. He was the biggest hero.
It's true.
And landing the plane at the end of the movie. So
Can't
I
argue
just
this.
wanted to give you guys that and go Creighton against Depaul tonight.
Cody, how bad is Creighton going to beat Depaul tonight?
As long as they got Kalkbrenner and oh God, I'm drawing a blank on
Ashworth?
the other Ashworth. Yeah, as long as they go together, I think it should be a smooth night. Hopefully, I'm hoping they win the next 4 so they can maybe get into a 6 seed or 5-7. So
Ooh, I think that's very much plausible. Cody, thanks for the call. One underrated part of Soul Train was the cast. So you not only had Snoop Dogg, but Method Man was in it.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart was in it.
Of course.
Also, Tom Arnold was in it. And I believe that Sophia Modern
Vergara?
Family, yes,
Bob Soul
was in it.
I'm looking at Denzel Washington's catalog.
Yeah, it's not in the top 5. Just off Glory, Training Day, Malcolm X. That's
He
3
got
right
Game.
there. Ricochet.
Are
Mo Better Blues?
You guys didn't even mention the best one.
Inside Man?
The Equalizer.
Malcolm X?
Yeah.
Did you mention Training Day?
We did say Training Day.
Hey,
King Kong had
How about
nothing
that
on
one?
him.
What's that one movie that he was in early in his career, like the war movie?
Glory.
Glory's such a good movie.
You know, one that I like that I don't. Well, he got Game. He's had
He
so
was
many.
good and he got Game.
Can I?
Man on
Fences, if anyone's seen Fences,
Fire. Well,
that came out.
okay, so we're putting our 2 favorite pilots together in movies.
Yeah.
They appeared together in Philadelphia. Tom Hanks and
Yes.
Denzel Washington.
Have you ever seen Unstoppable with the train? It's with Chris Pine. It's an incredible movie.
I've not watched that. I know of it.
It is like
Man on Fire. There's
it is your quintessential classic action movie. Like it is great. Oh, and his daughters work at Hooters. If we're
here,
harkening back to our conversation we had yesterday on the crossover.
Wasn't Dakota Fanning his daughter?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah,
she worked at Hooters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
which is weird because she was a child then.
His daughter, no. His daughter in the movie in Unstoppable worked at Hooters. Yeah.
You know,
Crimson Tide.
Yes. Well, him and Gene Hackman.
Oh, good. Well, we didn't even say Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Well, you can say Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. That's probably his best one.
Especially in the second half when he has to help Will Patton because Ed Henry was kicking his ass.
He's been in a lot of movies.
Take away from Remember the Titans, if only we all had a Coach Boone in our life. There's another one that is getting a lot of run on TikTok. I see a lot of clips of it, is American Gangster.
Yes.
Now, I have a brush with Denzel Washington real quick here.
Oh, go ahead.
So back in the days when the Omaha Nighthawks existed, and I was doing the games. Yours truly and Michael Severe, we did a game in Sacramento. Denzel Washington's son, who would go on to
become Ricky Jarrett.
Pretty good career, right?
Hmm.
Was playing for the Sacramento team. And Denzel and his crew show up to watch his son play. They pulled up in a big Escalade in the end zone to watch him play. That was the closest I've ever gotten to Denzel Washington, except for the screen that is in front of me when I'm going, deja vu.
We got some great suggestions on the stream.
Let's,
and not just the first Hot Shots, which Denzel was not in.
I mean, he's it just one after another after another.
It's so many bangers. I'm now realizing that I don't think I've seen enough Denzel movies though. Like
And
there are
Snakes on a
some
Plane.
here that I have not seen that I should watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't seen American Gangster. Like I should see American
You would like
Gangster.
it?
No,
That's
my
not
type of
sarcasm.
movie.
It's a good movie.
No, that's my type of movie.
Here is Clayton. Good morning, Clayton.
How are you guys?
We're
Good.
incredible, Clayton.
Good. All right. So I'm not going to lie. So I'm throwing on the outside in. I have not seen either movie of Sully or Flight.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you what. I would watch Denzel because he's a badass in The Equalizer. Even though I didn't think he would be. But I would never watch Sully because, Tom Hanks is on the Epstein list, so I don't trust him.
Whoa, Clayton.
Whoa.
Hey, that's a win for me. I'm
Theo?
taking that one.
I didn't
We
know
got
Theo
one
was
for Flight.
interested.
One for Flight. Hey, that's a great poll question. Flight or Sully?
Hold
Flight or
on.
Sully?
No. Just stand down.
Flight or Sully?
That CNN report, by the way, is false.
What?
So CNN reported that Tom Hanks fled to Israel after being named on the Epstein client list.
Oh, I'm not getting into the Epstein list. I'm just making jokes. But I don't dabble in that realm. But I'm just saying that's a great question.
I think that's probably a smart move on your part to stay out of the Jeffrey Epstein world.
Very good. No, I don't go in the Reddit and the subreddits and the deep rabbit holes that people get themselves into and the theories and like people who literally spend hours a day trying to research how this list is going to get out and who may be on that list. You know what? I'm worried about what Ben Johnson is saying about his former quarterback. That's what I'm worried about.
I mean, I think that's fair.
That's my realm. Yeah. That's what I'm. Hey, Tequila Shorts is talking today. I'm worried about that. I don't give a damn who's on what list.
Luka only scored 19 last night. Cost
He had
me
a triple
money.
double. What do you mean only scored 19?
It cost me money.
He had a triple double.
Okay.
That's nice.
You didn't know death taxes and Luka going for a triple dub against the Mavs
Did
in
you
his
see
first
that?
game.
Did you see that picture?
That
Of him
was a
looking
good
at
picture.
Nico. They were both looking at each other. Oh,
Well, I think you quit your job this morning if you're the GM of the Mavs when you actually go to the game. So good on you for showing up. But then when the Laker fans are chanting "Thank you, Nico" during the game, that's when you just, you know what, put your head down and just walk into the wilderness.
hey, you and I both know he should have quit his job the day after the trade happened.
He'll get fired. Don't worry.
David Stern would have rejected that in a heartbeat. I cannot believe that.
All right, we'll talk some hoopage because Creighton has a ball night tonight against the team from Chicago. It hasn't been good for a while. Can't beat Creighton.
Can't beat anybody.
They did beat two teams.
They did.
You have to at least give Chris Holtman credit.
No, I am. Like I said before, he's actually done for how bad that program's been and the dumpster fire they've been, he's actually not done a terrible job.
But the day after Nebraska loses 49-46 against Michigan in a UGLYU ugly game, it was a win yesterday for Nebraska. Nebraska basketball had a good day yesterday. Tell you why, when we come back, hour number 2 is straight ahead on 1620 The Zone. Hey, good news this morning. So welcome back in, hour number 2. The odds of us getting hit by an asteroid have gone down.
Thank God. Is this Apophis? Is that what the meter is called? Or is that a different meter that was supposed to, meteor, it was supposed to hit us?
I'm not keeping up on my meteors.
Oh, Morgan Freeman is president.
But
I've been
watching this asteroid thing, and the odds are going down.
Where's
so I think
it
it's
at
going to
now?
completely miss us.
Where's it at now?
It's like at, I don't know, like 1%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Why is it changing so much week to week?
Because the asteroid moves.
Yeah. And the SEC is not interested.
But I feel like it's not supposed to hit until 2032. Like, couldn't it hypothetically like get to 100, and then go back down? Like,
I'm not sure. I'm not in the asteroid business.
We should bring
but I was
on,
really good in that game.
we should bring.
That was a good game.
I'm not good at asteroids. I'm great at Frogger. Frogger and Pac-Man.
I liked Frogger.
Mm-hmm. Frogger's so much fun.
Frogger and Pac-Man. I dominated, and I struggled though with the sit-down Pac-Man. Like you go to Pizza Hut, and they would have the sit-down Pac-Man, but the stand-up Pac-Man, and then I went and bought the little small handheld Pac-Man. Dominating.
There's now at like arcades they have 4-person Pac-Man, 1v1v1 Pac-Man.
I've seen those.
It's awesome. It's great, and like you just try and eat each other. Like you just try, like you get the power up, and you just try and eat all the other Pac-Men or women, depending on who you're playing with. Frogger's great. Crossy Road. Do you know Crossy Road?
No.
Okay, so Crossy Road is a app. It's like a game on your iPhone, on iPad, and it's like a classic like iPad game for children or people my age, right? Like even kids could this case go play it. Crossy Road essentially has trained all of the people my age for Frogger. Like we all played Crossy Road, and then we went to an arcade, and then we were like, oh my God, Frogger is just Crossy Road, but the turtles can fall every once in a while. Like that was the only difference. So like there are a lot of people my age. Like we will go to like arcades and we will just play Frogger. And like we will like all compete. Like everybody's pretty good at it.
See, I think we should keep holding on to the past.
When it comes to video games, yes, absolutely. To other things, maybe not.
I think we should get back to Pizza Hut buffets where you can go inside and sit down, and they're just chock full of those sit-down video games.
Are buffets just in general going out?
COVID put a hit on them, but I think there's some that are hanging on.
Do you think it's like the less amount of buffets is due to the fact of like it's just not as cost effective for places anymore?
That's a good point. Also, there's some places that maybe the cleanliness.
Sure.
Yeah.
But have you ever met anyone who's like, I don't like a buffet? I've never met one person who said, I don't like a buffet.
I met a vegan once.
Fair enough.
They're like, I don't like the buffet. We're going to give you a chance, by the way, throughout the rest of the week to win hockey tickets to UNO hockey. It's the last home series this weekend. Hard to believe that hockey is already over. They go on the road for North Dakota, but they could be back home with home ice advantage, but they have to have a good weekend against Arizona State. They play on Friday and Saturday. This is a big weekend for the brand of Omaha Mavericks because men's basketball doesn't play until Saturday at 1:05 against ORU. They win. They are the outright champion of the Summer League. They get the #1 seed in the conference tournament. The news yesterday, South Dakota State will be without one of their starting guards for the rest of the season. Owen Larson, who has started 29 games, freshman guard, averaged about 9 points a game, pretty good player. Torn ACL. He is out for the year. So that's something that South Dakota State will have to overcome. But we'll tell you this, Jaden Jackson, freshman from Bellevue West, has played really well of late for them. But you have men's basketball at 1, hockey this weekend at 7:07. I think Saturday night's a whiteout, but we're going to give you a chance to win tickets to UNO hockey this weekend. So awesome. We'll do that at some point this morning. It is Combine Week. Oh, by the way, nice try on Trey Smith.
I know. I saw that report.
I think I had a good day yesterday with my NFL team.
Yeah, Kelsey's coming back. Or apparently, Brett Veach is confident that Kelsey's coming back. Now we got reports that Trey's coming back. You guys, Brett Veach has a talented tongue. I mean, his ability. Nope. You only made that dirty. Okay.
I didn't make anything. You just got my attention as I'm researching.
When Jimmy perks his ears and turns over and turns on the microphone, I know what that means.
I'm still reading about this Mary Kate thing. I thought this was about the Olsen twins.
Hey, who doesn't want to go to the Grove?
Yeah.
Continue on.
Like, you guys, we're at one point a week and a half ago, like favorites to lose both of them, for him to retire and Trey Smith to sign somewhere else. And then just like that.
Now, we still have to fix our revolving door at left tackle.
Yes.
But thank you, Taylor Swift, because Taylor Swift, they think Taylor Swift has been worth $1 billion to the NFL.
I saw that.
Because of her presence.
I believe it.
The salary cap went up, and the salary cap is just a number. If you have a good front office, they'll find a way to work around it.
Yeah.
Morning, Brett Beach.
So Trey Smith, who is an all-pro guard, he's only 25 years old, probably behind either T. Higgins or Sam Darnold. He's like either number 2 or number 3 most available free agent when free agency starts here in a couple of weeks. But yesterday, there was a reporter who I is spot on with most of his stuff, said that the Chiefs are very optimistic they'll get a 5-year deal with Trey Smith to keep him. So you were all set. You were already printing your Trey Smith Bears jersey.
It's already shipping over to me.
I hate to do that to you.
At least Caleb's coming.
Now I think Travis Kelce has to come back now, right? Andy Reid kind of walked you through what their discussion was. Brett Veach says, man, he was excited when he left.
Yeah, he's coming.
So it's going to ruin the New Heights podcast where they were going to break the news.
But I think they had to get it out there a little bit, in order for they didn't want the big question mark of whether, because Travis Kelce does impact the cap. And so I think they just kind of wanted to get it out there for any other free agents or any other agents that they're going to be talking to that, hey, this guy's going to be on our salary and that this is the amount of money that we're going to have to play with in order, to go and sign the guys or draft the guys that we want or negotiate with the guys that we want. So I think that's why they did it. But it doesn't surprise me. I think what Travis should do, though, and I think he deserves it, and there are very few people who do, but I think he should say, this is my last season. This is it. One last ride. He should get a retirement tour. They should honor him at his last Chiefs home game. They should do the full 9, everything.
They should bring Taylor back to put a concert on at Arrowhead.
Yeah, why not? Have Taylor do the halftime show when they win the Super Bowl,
Whoa. You're going to tick a lot of people off saying that if they're back in the Super Bowl.
One game, they got their what kicked in against the Eagles, but we're still talking about a team that essentially
We're on
lost.
to 25. Everybody's 0-0.
You guys lost one game last year.
My quarterback's got a new haircut.
It looks good, by the way.
Body looks better.
He shortened it up a little.
He's staying off TikTok. He's not doing dances like maybe becoming Jackson Mahomes living in Lincoln.
Jeez. They're
cringe.
They are cringe. Oh, no. They're cringe. Ever since the baby Gronk, I've been off of that.
Who follows the show, by the way,
media.
when you were gone
one day.
by
the way, we had a whole baby Gronk segment, and he ended up following 1620 the zone.
within seconds after the segment. So, hey, they listen. Good morning,
he's
guys.
always listening. Baby Gronk is always listening.
I saw he was in Athens this weekend.
Does the kid not go to school?
Evidently not.
What's he doing?
Trust me, there's a lot of student athletes who don't go to school.
Especially in Athens.
They didn't come there to play school. They come there to play ball. Okay, I'm not paying you $2 million.
Baby Gronk is not in college. Baby Gronk is a 5th grader. Baby Gronk did come to play school. All right, that guy needs to know his jolly phonics and how to do his times tables. I don't know if he's even gotten a long division yet. All right,
I haven't been in school for a while. The what?
Yeah,
the jolly phonics.
Jolly phonics.
The hell is
that's
that?
how they taught
the jolly
us.
phonics.
We had hooked on
phonics.
phonics.
No way. This is how they taught us our sounds. That's A.
I learned that in high school.
Bah. That's B. K. K. That's C. That's H. That's S. That's
Also
jolly
C.
phonics.
What sector of the Branch Davidians did you go to school at?
No, this is everyone who's listening.
Shout
right
out
now.
Waco.
There are parents who are driving their kids to school right now, and the kids are saying these things along with me. This is what they're learning.
So they taught you the A. What was the B?
Your mama sure cares about your school.
What was
boy.
that?
Buh. Duh.
You don't
Duh.
say much, do you?
And then you, when they do the combine, the S and the H, shh. And then they put the C and the H, ch. That's jolly phonics.
They didn't teach you this at Nebraska either.
How do they
do it
teach
at
you your
Kansas?
A, B's, and C's and D's? And
God,
E's
we
and
were so much smarter than you people. You youngins.
They had a big
They didn't
easel.
have to.
They had a big easel, and it had a beautiful
We
laminated piece
never-
of paper.
We had Sesame Street.
Laminated piece of paper right there. It had A, B, C, D, E,
first
F,
of all,
G.
I don't remember what I did in kindergarten. So that's probably where we learned this stuff. Or maybe homeschooling with Barb. She was like, Gary,
2 + 2 is 4, dang it.
So Kelsey will be at the end of his contract.
Which is the
his last
takeaway
year.
here. He'll be back.
There's news, though. So the Combine is going on, and I think it's a charade of drills. And I think the Combine has become this. First of all, it's never going to go away because it's become so popular in the NFL. The Combine in Indianapolis was going to be one of those last bastions where it was pure, okay? It was not sullied, you know?
It wasn't crashed into water.
You know what? There weren't as many cooks in the kitchen. They just left it alone. And then all of a sudden it started to blow up. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger and more attention. And media, they went to Indy and they covered this. And it became huge and became a moneymaker. And it became another event on the NFL calendar. And because the NFL loves themselves some money and attention, there is discussions that it's going to leave Indianapolis. I think it would be very sad. But I'm not going to lie. If it went to US Bank Stadium, I think we're probably there on Radio Row. They actually have a Radio Row for the Combine.
They have a Radio Row. I was about to say that. They have a Radio Row this year.
Yeah.
They have a full room lined up with like what you would see at the Super Bowl, tables on tables and tie lines on tie lines and like just different hosts. And like they're bringing in, I still follow the, ESPN Chicago and the people they're interviewing. They're just grabbing people. People are just walking. They're like, hey, come here, come over here, sit down, take a seat. Let's go. Let's just talk about ball. Like they're just grabbing former players and executives and whatnot. Like it is wild how much coverage it gets.
I think the Combine is perfect for a guy like Ty Robinson. I'm going to tell you why in a moment. But I don't know why a quarterback would ever throw at the Combine. Just set it up for your pro day. I think working out is overrated. Again, if you're a day one or a day two guy, because you already have film. So it's a charade. But we're going to watch because that's what we do. But I'm more interested in like yesterday, today, where the current NFL teams, GMs or head coaches are talking.
There's a lot.
And there's, the quarterbacks are making the world go around in Indy right now with what's going to happen with Stafford and Darnold and Aaron Rodgers. But Ty Robinson got his NFL grade.
Oh.
So NFL.com. And I'm trying to see what they have. Watch when they really measure Ty. So right now he's listed at 6'4", 296. Fedoni and Tommy Hill will work out on Friday. Naor will work out on Saturday. And are the defensive linemen tomorrow?
There was a whole schedule. I believe they are. And then on Friday, I think, is when the running backs, quarterbacks, and wide receivers go.
Ty Robinson and the D-line will work out, which is a deep group. They'll work out on Thursday. So Ty Robinson, again, I want to see how he's measured. So he'll be measured today. They list him as 6'4", 296. NFL.com grade came out. They gave him a 6.25 out of 8. That projects him to eventually be a starter, might not be a star, but his effort, strength, and demeanor could make him a productive pro for years to come.
I couldn't agree more. I think you look at him and you just look at, and we've seen it over and over the last 12 games. I mean, he's just big and he's strong and he moves well for his size. And does he have super scar potential? I'm not going to come out here and I'll never say that this guy can't be a Pro Bowl or this guy can't be an impact player for anybody, right? I'm never going to I don't like putting caps on guys' ceilings, especially in the NFL. But he definitely does lack that speed, that off-the-ball quickness that you see from the guys who just make impact. Like Jalen Carter has that. It just pops off, right? That speed he has. Aaron Donald had it. It's just that speed Abdul Carter
Don't mess
has
up
that.
Tennessee.
Micah Parsons
Don't mess
had
up
it.
Tennessee.
Will Anderson had, not only did he have the strength, but man, to get off the ball. Ty is lacking that, but what Ty doesn't lack is strength, technique, and just his footwork's really good and he's able to drive through and he's an F-up guy, right? Maybe if he doesn't.
It's another Jolly Phonics thing.
No. He's an F-up guy where it's like, Dennis Rodman.
In my day, we said the word.
He kind of F things up on the defensive end for everybody, regardless of who he was guarding. Ty, with his strength in college, was just able, even if he didn't make the tackle, he just effed things up in the line of scrimmage. He just kind of bottled.
Like that. Okay.
He just bottled things up.
Yeah.
He moved people around to the point where, the running back had to bounce out to the B gap or bounce out to the valley, and you got someone there, spilling out, and
This
you got
is like
someone
our
there to
Shrek
tackle
conversation.
him. Like that's what Ty did, and like that's what people value that in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to be a gaudy stats guy, but he's a strong defensive lineman you can put in a lineup for a long time.
It's important for Nebraska to double the guys that are at the combine moving forward, and to have guys that are drafted on day 1 and day 2 and day 3. That would be a sign of progress. But they got 4 in Indy, which is the most in about a decade. Now back to the phonics thing. A couple of emails here into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally.
I need a teacher to email in for me.
A teacher?
I need a teacher.
There is. I'm just going to give you a comment here. This is from Stith Destroyer 1 on the stream. I'm 27. WTF is Matt talking about with this Johnny Phonics stuff. LMAO.
That's how we learned our ABCs and how to speak.
Is this a Skokie thing?
I mean, it's a Chicago public schools thing because my mother's a teacher and she taught kindergarten and Johnny Phonics.
Now things are starting to make sense.
Should get Tom Skilling on
Terry
the phone.
says, are you sure that isn't an O sound, not an A?
I don't know.
How'd the A sound again? Hold on. Does that sound like an O, Jimmy?
No, it sounds like...
Give it to us again.
Sounds like how Forrest Gump got into school.
Okay, one more time. Give it to us. John says, Jolly Phonics? Apparently this program forgot about the letter T.
Wow. That's rough.
I'm not going to touch that one.
That is rude, okay? I'm sorry, I don't Creighton for everybody.
Oh, sorry. Yes. See, that's how I learned phonics. Was the first Friday the 13th.
Like, when did they teach you this? Like 8th grade?
Kindergarten. Never forget it. Miss
I
McClellan.
remember nothing about kindergarten.
Miss McClellan.
I do.
Room 12. Fairview Public Schools.
Now you're not very far removed from like a couple of years, so
It's not a couple of years. I'm fairly far removed. I'm fairly far removed.
I remember more about my first grade than I do my kindergarten.
Do you
shout out to single?
How many
Sister Monica Mary?
How many
very handsy? More I think about it.
Different time.
She'd rub your back and like would touch you on the head.
Did you get hit with a ruler?
No. Almost got hit by the paddle by Sister John Agnes, who has passed away, but she was the meanest friggin' person I think I've ever encountered.
Sister Charlotte.
She had a big wart on the side of her face. Like she looked like a mean nun.
She sounds like a witch a little bit, like from Harry Potter.
Yeah, she was. I think she got away with abuse because she was hiding behind a Catholic school. That's what I really think it is.
Yeah, I think that's I'm gonna hold my tongue.
She's a big Arlie Army fan.
How many grade school teachers do you remember? How many of your all of them? Do you remember every single one of them?
Yeah,
name them.
This is terrible radio.
Okay, fair enough.
That's for the podcast.
Sister Monica Mary. I had Mrs. Gannon in 2nd grade. I had Sister Virginia in 3rd grade. 4th grade, I had Mrs. Fitzsimmons. 5th grade, I had Mrs. Crawford. 6th grade, I had Mrs. Dutremont, who I tried to hook her up with Mark Gastineau.
Nice.
7th grade, I had Mr. Hallwell. 8th grade, I had Mrs. Thompson, but I really wanted to be in Mrs. Kelly's room because when you're in 8th grade,
remember this?
Mrs. Kelly.
I remember my
Mrs.
teachers.
Kelly was a smoke show.
There you go.
She was, and she had me. She invited me over to her house for Thanksgiving because they don't have turkey. They're Italian, so they have Italian food. She's like, you should come to my house. If I would have known now,
if you'd seen The Graduate,
if
you
I
had seen Bad Teacher,
the stuff I know now that I could have applied when I was back then.
Oh my God,
I would have been on the news. Seriously,
you would have been like that one SNL skit with Ronda Rousey. You ever see that one?
Or the one incident here in Omaha.
Would have been Pete Davidson.
To be fair, that was in Bennington.
True. Sorry.
I mean, don't be knocking Omaha.
Yeah.
If a teacher's going to get busy with a student and they want to take it to the burbs, we got to credit the burbs.
I wasn't judging.
If you're going to do that, go to Bennington. Don't stay in Omaha.
Grant says that's how Gary learned how to pronounce Illinois and Wisconsin.
I do. All right. You have Creighton.
Date done.
Um,
and you got Illinois and Wes and Melk and Neck and Beg.
What is 2,000 pounds commonly referred to?
A ton.
TOD?
A ton. I say it. It's a ton.
TUND.
Ton. It's a don. It's a don.
But you have a lisp.
A little, yeah. Yeah, I do.
So, I mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
The phonic thing again.
Phonic thing again?
The phonic thing again.
That's not that bad.
Huh?
It's not that bad.
How'd the O sound?
Ugh.
But O and A do sound similar.
They sound similar.
Give me the A.
Ugh.
Give me the O.
Ugh. Can't really tell the difference.
No, you can't. Explains a lot. Nebraska basketball had a good day yesterday. We'll tell you why they had a good day. What'd the N sound like?
What'd
the G sound like?
G.
The B?
B.
The R?
The cow goes moo.
To be fair, we're a fair and balanced station. What'd the U sound like?
Ugh.
That kind of sounds like a lot of the others. What'd the N sound like?
Just jackhammering away.
And then to finish, the O again?
Ugh.
Are you sure your mom was really a teacher?
She was, yeah. She is. She still is. She's still working.
It's Gary and Matt, 1620 The Zone. Hey, tryouts continue at AF Academy. Coming up for fifth graders today, youth boys, fifth graders today at AF, the fastest growing youth basketball program in the Omaha area. Attitude, effort, and focus. There are three core values that are instilled in every athlete to become impact players both on and off the court. So if you have a son that is in fifth grade and you're looking for a place to play this spring and summer, go to the website right now, aefacademy.com. There is no fee to try out. All you got to do is register. You know, March Madness is right around the corner, and AF is the place for you. Second grade through 17 under boys and girls teams, and that tryout process. There are pros that are there that are watching, paid coaches. They have great paid coaches. They will structure the evaluation process so you get an objective insight for team placement. They'll put you on the right team that meets your needs. Again, there's no need to try out. Fifth grade boys tonight at AF Academy at 99th and Portal Road in Papillion. They got a great new location, 3 hardwood courts. For more information and all the other things that are going on, including the additional high school tryout dates that are coming up in March, go to the website right now, aefacademy.com. The Angry Banana. Why are people angry at the Savannah Bananas, by the way? I get a lot of hate. You know what? If you don't like them, don't watch them.
It's one of those things where people just enjoy to pee on
People
other
just like-
people's
yes,
parades.
that.
Like, people just love to be, in those situations. Like, it's not meant for you, right? There are some things, like, I get it sometimes when people are, like, trying to do things that are supposed to be for you and they don't hit the mark. All right, then you have every right to hate on it. There's some things it's not meant for you, so stay away from it.
Still
You
can't
don't
believe
need
that.
to say anything.
Still can't believe that here in Omaha we've not gotten an appearance from the Savannah Bananas.
It would go. I think it would go over well.
I'd go.
Oh, it would. I don't. Would they pack the Chuck? They would pack Warner Park, so you could put.
I think they
you
could
put
get
10 to 11 at Warner.
If they did,
Would you do 20, 25 at.
I think so. I think if they marketed it well, then because you'd be surprised how many youth baseball teams or younger kids would enjoy that type of event, and go out there. And, they could. It's all about marketing. If they can really make it this big deal that the Bananas are in town, and then Kyle Perry's on the team, and they're promoting him, and Kyle's going to be pitching, and he's awesome at just connecting with the community. I mean, that's one of the best things he did when he was in Lincoln. They could do that.
Wouldn't that be something if the Savannah Bananas play in Memorial Stadium before they play in Omaha?
That is. I don't think. How could you get 80,000 people to watch this event? I mean, that'd be crazy. That'd be absolutely.
You know
nuts.
what? You know what was crazy? Mr. Jolly Phonics.
That's what they taught us in school.
I never heard.
Never heard of Jolly Phonics.
If you look it up, that's just Jolly Phonics is what they taught us. That's how I learned my words.
I learned the F word before that.
Mr. Jolly Phonics.
I don't like that nickname. I like Mac better than Mr. Jolly Phonics.
There was a time when people were like, man, I don't know if they can get 30,000 people to watch a volleyball match.
Sure.
And then you know what? They said, you know what? I think I'll add about 60,000 to that number.
I don't think 80,000.
You know what? Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Even 25,000.
You challenge the Nebraska fan, the fan in the state in the 402 to the 308 and beyond. They will come.
Now,
they will respond.
If it was Nebraska baseball, I mean, it'd be Nebraska baseball versus the Savannah Bananas.
A one-time, no. So they play. They have their own team.
But what if they play Nebraska baseball?
They won't. This is not like the Harlem Globetrotters are going to play Creighton.
Fair enough.
I think you could do pretty well. It'd be wild to see how Memorial Stadium would be configured for baseball. Now, Trev did go down the path of, Jordy Ball is coming to Nebraska. What if we had Nebraska and Oklahoma play in Memorial Stadium in a softball game?
That would have been cool.
It'd be a little bit easier because the dimensions aren't.
Sure.
You don't need to go 3:15 down the line.
I think you could easily get the Chuck filled. Like if they came out here and people knew about it and they put it on billboards and they really promoted it, you could get 25,000 people there. I think there would have to be another, you'd have to give people another promotion or another reason to go to Memorial Stadium to get more and more people there.
You don't think one time, because they're at
80,000
Clemson.
A lot of people.
Well, I don't know if they'd have.
I think
the seating might be a little bit different because you want to be able to see. I don't know where they'd put home plate at. I'd have to think about this, but 80,000 would be a number that would be out there. I don't ever discount after volleyball day in Nebraska. I don't discount if you say Nebraska fans, you think you'll show up? Nebraska fans will show up for an event like that.
There's a significant difference though between Nebraska volleyball and the Savannah Bananas. Like Nebraska volleyball was
they play different sports.
But Nebraska was a built program for 20 years. It took a long time, a lot of hard work, sweat, tears, great teams in order for that to be a reality. The Savannah Bananas are kind of this third party. I'm sure there are some people in Lincoln who don't know who the Savannah Bananas are, who may not have heard of them before, and they kind of are a bit of a social media superstar as opposed to being a mainstream, more so social media than mainstream. There are, they do get some mainstream hype for sure. But I don't know. To sell out Memorial Stadium would be a lot. I think it's just apples to oranges there, just because Nebraska volleyball is Nebraska volleyball. I mean, people love.
It's an event. People like to go to events. I think if you challenged them. James says it's funny you're talking about the Savannah Bananas. This came up because I'm eventually going to get to read this tweet about Jolly Phonics from the Angry Banana. I just saw a lot of hate about the Savannah Bananas yesterday. And if you don't like that, don't watch, don't go. But you know what? There's a lot of people. They're selling out everywhere. James says, it's funny you're talking about the Savannah Bananas today. They will be in KC at Kauffman Stadium this May. Like, they are on their world tour, and they're going, like, once they filled up a major league ballpark, they're like, we can do this.
Once they did Fenway, that was the light bulb for them.
James says you had to enter a lottery to even have a chance to buy tickets. They would absolutely have no problem filling up the truck and could probably fill up Memorial Stadium with a waiting list. So $40K at the K.
Am I underestimating the popularity of the Savannah Bananas to where there is confidence they could get 80,000 people in Memorial?
The closest they've been, so they've been in Des Moines. They'll be back in Des Moines again this year. And the 11,000 seats in Principal Park go like that.
Dang.
All right, now to finally the
that's
tweet
crazy.
from the Angry Banana. Make it stop. I feel like I'm listening to a Biz Markie album.
I don't.
Don would also like to know, go check the reading proficiency scores for Chicago Public Schools, and it will all make sense.
Scott, I mean, I like to think that we're able to read in Chicago. All right, we can read. We can look down at a piece of paper and we can say the words that are on that piece of paper.
But you're a Burb kid. Burb education's better, right?
I am dependent on where you go and where you're located. But yes, traditionally Burb schools are better. I am a Burb kid. Traditionally, Burb schools are better than CPS.
But you also went to a private school.
But I also
so the
did go
education
to a
is top
private
notch.
school. Not mine. Not the private
really?
school I went to. Oh, no. We were not a top-notch education over at the Notre Dame
you were
College
more
Prep School
athletics.
for Boys.
Did y'all win at football?
Not really.
That's all that
we
matters.
were kind of middle of the pack. If I'm being honest, my parents spent a lot of money for me to go to a very, very average school at best.
That's disappointing.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's a little bit like me. We can read. CPS, the literacy scores. Golly Phonics works, man. We can see the stop signs and we can read the speed limits. There are other maybe
He's
laws
getting a
and
commission,
rules.
isn't he?
There's some laws and rules that maybe other people choose not to read in the Chicagoland area, but that's neither here nor there. It's Golly Phonics.
Nebraska basketball. Deflated, exhausted, disappointed. Am I actually talking about Nebraska basketball? We'll do that when we come back. 1620 The Zone.
Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state, which is our state. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? Well, you can with Underdog. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. Points, assists, rebounds, more. Come on, Luca. All I needed was a few more points. He'll get me back when they go to Dallas. They got all your favorite leagues, teams, stars to choose from, including hockey. I'm learning something new every day. Create entries with all basketball picks or mix and match across other sports. This week on Underdog, aside from basketball, you know what? I'm going to dabble a little bit with the NHL because I learned from working on the show. We'll see what happens. I'll let you know. Download the Underdog app today and sign up now using the promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun. When you sign up with promo code ZONE, claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 19 plus. In Nebraska, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Worst trade in the history of trades. Just reiterated last night, Luka had a triple W as the Lakers beat the Mavs. Death taxes, and he would do well in his first game against his old mates. Showed a little emotion.
Yeah, that stare down.
A little trash talk after him and Kyrie did the little finger thing, the little handshake before the game. Tell you what, there's a lot that goes into that. You watch the basketball players. I mean, I don't know if they practice those things.
They have to.
But they have them down. Yeah.
You think LeBron is a smart guy by the way he plays, basketball, but then you see him go to his former teammates and do all of the former handshakes and whatnot. And the fact that he can remember even the retired ones, even when there's guy like Udonis Haslem, did the same handshake. What are we doing here? How do you remember all this stuff?
I know. There was a great TikTok that was out there a few years ago. I think it was in North Carolina. It was an elementary school teacher that has a signature handshake with all of his students, that every morning when they come in, he meets them at the door and he does the handshake with them. I think the world would be better if we all had a specific handshake for every person that we interact with.
Hey, do you want a handshake with me, Gary?
Not a chance.
There you go.
Knew that was coming.
I mean, that was
coming.
That was the easiest setup of all time.
Because I've watched you not wash your hands in the bathroom.
That is not true. You cannot. I wash my hands every single time.
Maybe you just missed 3 times.
No.
And the 3 times that I saw you.
I wash every single time.
I saw you didn't, so I'm just
We cannot continue this narrative that I am a very hygienic human. I wash my hands.
Don't you take multiple showers?
Yes,
I actually thought that the other day when I took a second one. I didn't
a
feel
day.
bad because you said you do.
I take 2 a day. Sometimes we get up to 4. That's not true.
Wait till the water bill comes.
I've gotten up to 4, not on a regular basis though. But I take at least 2 a day.
So in the morning and at night?
Morning and at night, yeah.
Okay.
Morning and after working out.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense.
So, and then sometimes the 3 will come from morning, then the after working out, and then if I just feel like, you know what, I just need a shower, but I don't wash my hair every single time in it.
They say you're not supposed
to. No, that'd be
some
terrible.
good-looking lettuce you got.
I know. It's coming together pretty nice. It's getting held together. We were losing some hair. Now we're kind of keeping the hair. It's getting thickened, Turkey might have been delayed about 4 or 5 years before I have to go and get it done,
Shout out Burke.
Shout out Brian Urlacher.
That's true.
The question is, could you build a team around either one of them?
You could build one side of the ball out of actually both of them.
So the morning yesterday, after the Nebraska-Michigan masterpiece that was built for nuclear sickos to watch and embrace, and all the discourse that was going on, and that, Nebraska, are they going to fall out of the tournament? Well, they're sitting at about a 10 or 11 in a lot of the brackets that are popping up this morning. Creighton is a 7 or an 8. But yesterday was a good day for Nebraska basketball. You want to know why?
Why is that, Gary Sharp?
So, 2 things happened yesterday that could bode well for the old GBR and finishing up strong before they go to Indianapolis. Last night, I watched a defeated, exhausted, disappointed Ben Johnson, whose team played with 0 sense of urgency in an empty barn as an older team, not of young guys. An older team got beat by Northwestern. Now, Mitchell and Garcia will get on the charter and come to Lincoln on Saturday, but you're 4 years into the Ben Johnson era. They played a little bit better basketball out in Los Angeles. Then they come home. They've been beaten by Penn State. They've been beaten by Northwestern. Nebraska got some help yesterday because that is a broken Minnesota team that now people in Minnesota this morning in the land of 10,000 basketball courts are trying to find in their seat cushions $2.92 million. I think it's over in Minnesota. That was disappointing yesterday. So that's a win for Nebraska. That's their next opponent coming up on Saturday.
Isn't it crazy how thin the margins kind of are for Ben Johnson and what he's doing in Minnesota basketball? I mean, we had Tim Kruger on here on Friday, and Tim was talking about how, look at Minnesota. They've won 3 out of their last 4. They've been competitive. Ben might end up keeping his job. He has to battle through a lot of things because of the lack of money that is coming into that program, and the fact that they just really have a tough time retaining talent. unless you're named Parker Fox or Dawson Garcia, and so just
God, they are an old team.
They are an old team, but like we're talking about him keeping his job. Oh my God, they're on a roll, and just like that, you lose to Penn State, you lose to Northwestern, both at home, and now Ben Johnson goes from he's going to keep his job to no, he's probably done. He's probably done and dusted.
And they might not make the conference tournament. So watching his post game was very uncomfortable. And I know Coach Johnson a little bit, and he wants, as an alum, he wants Minnesota to succeed so bad. And they got decimated by the NIL, but they were able to hold on to Dawson Garcia. I think they're done. That's who Nebraska plays next. Now, we're in it to win it. We're going to the dance. Put on your shoes, Kent Pavelka. Might come down to an elimination game next week in Columbus.
Yeah, that's the game.
Then after that, another win for Nebraska yesterday. Because by the time that March 9th rolls around at 11:30, an odd 11:30 tip-off on Fox on March 9th for Nebraska, Iowa at PBA.
Kind of dig it.
Last night, the loss to Iowa stings, by the way, for Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
To be up 15 in Iowa City and blow that game. And Iowa got blown out on the road again. They were good for like the first couple of minutes, and then Illinois took the lead, and then it was Katie barred the door, and they got blown out again. It seems like Iowa goes on the road and gets beat by at least 20. So you have a 66-year-old head coach who they have to win Friday in Evanston against Northwestern. They have Northwestern, Michigan State, and Nebraska left. They're going to be an underdog in all three. They may not make the conference tournament. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament for the second straight year.
No.
They have the first time they've had a losing record in Iowa City since 17-18. By the time they get to Lincoln, they may be done. Fran may be done. They may have just 120 minutes in Iowa City left of Fran McCaffrey basketball. Last night, they got pumped by the Fighting Illini, and Nebraska had a good win in Minneapolis and in Champaign for the future of two teams. They're going to show up in Lincoln. Now, I know every game's tough. You can't take your opponent for granted.
Not in the Big Ten.
But Minnesota is broken, and Iowa may be done. So it was a good day yesterday for Nebraska basketball, right?
Iowa got duped by a team that just had gotten duped a couple of days earlier, and an Illinois team that for the last, honestly, month has been faltering big time. I mean, just has not been able to put it together. And they went in and, they went on the road, and shout out to Champaign. They had an incredible crowd yesterday, and they just got absolutely whooped. And, Brad Underwood definitely shortened up the bench. I think with Iowa, Nebraska's been fortunate this year where a lot of their wins and a lot of their losses have actually aged pretty well. Like if you go down the line, like Oregon has aged pretty well. Like UCLA at first didn't age well, but then they got that back. Like they started winning more games, so then it looked better. Creighton has gotten back on track. They beat Northwestern. Everyone was saying that Northwestern game was going to move from a Q1 to a Q2 for sure. Northwestern has won a couple games now. So they've been fortunate where some of their wins look better because they're the teams they beat and have played. Iowa's the exception to that. I mean, that is the one loss that has just has gotten worse and worse and worse. And it's like you look back on that game, and not only do you cringe at the result, but you just cringe at not only them blowing the lead, but then the way they came back to at the end of the game. And the buzzer beater by Bryce Williams. And then you had a shot in overtime, and then you got punked in overtime too. Like like you said, it's good that those teams lost yesterday because you start questioning, what are you really playing for at this point? And Ben Johnson, I mean, I think the only thing that might be able to reinvigorate his team and maybe his passion and get them playing at a high level is, if they end up, well, they're actually going to play Nebraska before they play Michigan State. So it doesn't even matter. I was going to say, if they beat Michigan State, maybe they'd play better going to Nebraska, but they play Nebraska first. So there you go.
There'll be a lot of familiar names that have always been attached to Nebraska or have a connection to the area. I think will be in the mix at Minnesota. The Fran thing, he does a lot of interviews. The problem is we haven't gotten the full Fran effect this year. He has very little times gone FranCon, where last night they tried to bait him. The crowd did, but he didn't bite. I mean, they're swimming in it. It'd be very curious to me how they handle the end of the year in Iowa City, because he actually has a pretty good recruiting class. that they put together, but he's 66. He's been at Iowa for a while. 2 straight years they're not in the tournament. They might not even make the conference tournament, which is unbelievable.
Insane.
At Iowa. That a relatively new athletic director who has got 2 older coaches who have been at their respective jobs at that university for a long time, that you can kind of see the end, but you're going to treat them with dignity.
Absolutely.
If they just let Fran retire and then they move on to Ben McCollum, Chris Jans, Darren DeVries, whoever will be out there. But that could be a moment where I don't know, maybe Iowa loses at Northwestern. They lose to Michigan State. They're not going to make the conference tournament. They know that's the end for Fran, and they play with a ton of emotion. But it could go the other way where they're like,
who cares?
I'm not even going to be on this roster next year. But I just like they watch how Beth Getz handles Fran McCaffrey, because I think that'll show you how they'll let Kirk Ferentz, after he gets the all-time Big Ten wins record, and then says, you know what, time for me to retire.
It's 2 jobs where, they've kind of come to the end, both Fran and Kirk, in terms of what they've been able to accomplish. And it's just with the changing times, it's time to change too. You can make that argument for the Iowa Hawkeyes, but you can give them a little credit where they have won enough in those programs and shown that you can be a proven winner in those programs where they will be coveted jobs. There will be people who for sure will want to be the coach, the head coach of the football team and the head coach of the basketball team. I'll tell you this right now. I think Ben Johnson ends up getting, I think he ends up getting another head coaching job pretty quickly if he ends up getting fired, just because I think he can look back and be like, look, Minnesota was a really bad situation. I didn't have a ton to work with. It was like every year I was revolving through a different roster, and it was a really difficult job and a really difficult conference. So I don't think he'll get like a Power 5 job, but I don't think he'll be on the picket lines for too much longer.
All right. A little bit later, John Walker will stop by Creighton and Depaul tonight at 8 o'clock as Creighton goes for the 20th victory, a 16.5-point favorite in a conference game, as they try and win their 22nd in a row.
Jeez, I don't even think that's high enough, by the way.
Against the Big East team from Chicago. Plus, there's a debate going on about end-of-the-year awards in the Big East. Give up one to get the other is how I look at it with Ryan Kalkbrenner.
It shouldn't even be a conversation. It shouldn't even be a combo.
There's a heavy conversation on one of the awards.
Oh, sure.
It's halftime. We'll be back with more after this. All right, before the hour's over, we'll give you an opportunity to win tickets to go see Omaha and Arizona State. That's right. Arizona State has hockey. They're in the NCHC, and they're really good. They're in second, so they'll be in Omaha. If the Mavs sweep this weekend, Omaha men's basketball and Omaha hockey is not lost in Baxter Arena in the calendar year 2025. Then Omaha will ensure home ice advantage for the opening round of the NCHC playoffs. But Arizona State is really good. Shock in hockey. We'll give you a chance to win tickets this weekend. A huge weekend at Baxter. Men's basketball, hockey. So as we are 18 days away from Selection Sunday, there are a couple of things that we all do when we get up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Make sure we're all there. Put your feet on the ground. Maybe head into the bathroom. Do your business. Maybe head to immediately start the coffee pot. I am bracket obsessed. So every morning when I get up, I have about 4 or 5 different places that I go that I know that overnight they update their brackets. So I am bracket obsessed. I scroll through brackets and I'm wondering now, has Duke ascended to the number 1 overall seed? Back-to-back wins by a differential of plus 80. I don't care if they were playing you-know-who. Miami basketball, Jesus. That has gone.
So I watched the beginning of that game and then quickly turned the volume over to one of the other games in the quad box. But for about 6 minutes of play, I just watched Cooper Flagg.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just watched what he did. And what impresses me the most about him isn't necessarily like the speed and length and athleticism and ability to shoot. He is smart. He is a really smart basketball player.
Yeah.
Like he knows when to swing. He knows when to dump. And you might laugh at this. Something he does though, and it's very minute. He sets a really good screen. Like a really, really good like flare screen or pin down, just in general. He's a good screener. And I think that some people are like, well, man, like he's not going to get drafted number 1 overall in the NBA because he sets good screens. But I think what it screams to me is that when you have a guy who as good as this guy is, who has been heralded as the future of the NBA, there would be NBA general managers who say, after Victor Wembanyama, the guy that I want my team for the next 10 years is Cooper Flagg.
What if I get both of them?
The fact
they can't allow him to go to a market where he'll disappear.
Absolutely not.
Now, if he goes to Brooklyn, okay.
Good. But it's San Antonio, man, Cooper Flagg, Victor Wembanyama, or Chicago. Yeah. Or Chicago. Chicago.
What if he's like Utah?
Ugh. Yeah. I would do Charlotte. I would do Charlotte only because he'd be with LaMelo. That's the only reason I'd do Charlotte. But
also, they got a great downtown ballpark.
The fact that guy is that good.
Gorgeous.
It is a nice ballpark, but that's not what I was thinking about Cooper Flagg. But good job, Jimmy.
The fact that he's that good and he's that talented and he's that generational and he takes those team jobs as seriously as he does and puts pride into making sure that other guys are getting open on the sets, it speaks to who he is as a just character and who that team is as a team. The fact that they're all willing to do that for one another. Now, they lost Tyrese Proctor yesterday to a knee injury. Well, I don't know if I don't know if it's serious or not, so that could be a pretty big loss, but they've looked damn good the last 2 games. Damn good. They passed the eye test tenfold.
So there's a couple of places that have them now as the number 1 overall seed. So my bracket obsession every morning, I'm looking at red, blue, and black Nebraska. I'm now looking at like intriguing matchups. So the Athletic, which I need to get the name of the person that does the bracket for the Athletic.
Okay.
It's all over the map. So they have Nebraska as an 11 seed playing Mississippi State, who would be a 6, who got punked last night by Alabama. Alabama put up triple figures again. Something about the SEC. We talk about the Big East where the upper class destroys the lower class. That kind of happens in the SEC. Like Mizzou race South Carolina. Alabama put up 111 on, a 6 seed Mississippi State. So the Athletic has Mississippi State and Nebraska, a 6-11 game. Not in the play-in. I think I saw a lot yesterday that had Nebraska going to Dayton to play in the play-in game, but I also saw a lot that had Nebraska still as a number 10.
Yeah. Kind of all over the place with them. I think Nebraska just in general, because they have some bad losses, but their top of their resume is really, really good. I do think they're a team where I don't know if a lot of people really know where to put them because the best of their resume, it definitely meets the range of like a 7-8 seed, but the bottom of their resume screams out at the tournament, which is what this team is.
A week from now, we're going to be talking about a game at Ohio State that might be an elimination game.
Literally.
Because there's like Ohio State, Nebraska, they're the last 4 byes or the last 4 in. They're in that range. So Creighton shows up as an 8. Interesting matchup. They'd be playing New Mexico, which last night got beat by San Diego State, who needed that win. And Brian Dutcher is a really, really good coach. San Diego State is a little bit younger than they've been in the past, but now New Mexico and Utah State are tied for first in the Mountain West. That would be an interesting matchup. Then they had them moving. They would be in the region where Florida, who got beat last night by Georgia, is still the number 1 seed. Now, the one that I do agree with, and I hope this continues, and I've said this, and people are like, why do you want to be a 16? Omaha, which has to win in Sioux Falls, still as a 16 seed. I think if they win the regular season outright and they win the conference tournament, they will vault to a 15, which I don't want.
Yeah.
Because I think we have to establish a parameter here, because Nebraska might end up in the play-in game. They might end up in Dayton. If you win in Dayton, that's an NCAA win.
Yes. You're in one shining moment. It counts.
Boom. Okay? It does.
It does.
Yeah.
No.
So that's why I keep saying for a school that is a 16 seed, you would rather be a 16 going to Dayton than a 16 playing a true 1 because you have a chance to win. You have a chance, like, for example, let's play just make believe here. Jolly Phonics, so to speak.
I used to play that then too.
Omaha's a 16 seed. They play on a Tuesday. Okay?
Sure.
They play SEMO.
Okay.
Or they play Bryant. Or they play American.
Yeah, why not?
Mario Ellie.
3 teams that we see on a regular basis.
They play Tufts.
Wow. That would be a hell of a run in their conference tournament.
It'd be
Does that conference tournament start on Sunday?
I have no clue.
By the way, conference tournament start on Sunday. The ball is about to be tipped.
Is that the Sun Belt and the WCC gauntlet where you got to win 7 games or whatever ridiculous amount of basketball they have to play?
Yeah. I think in mid-major leagues, your whole goal is to win a game in the NCAA tournament because you get shares.
Yes.
So you could get 2 shares.
Yeah.
I think every low to mid-major league should protect the regular season champ at all costs. I think the Horizon does a really good job of that, and they're more of a high-end mid-major league. But Omaha is a 16. You're playing. Let's say you play on a Tuesday. You get all the attention because the tournament just started. You're either the first or second game that is out of the box. And I don't care if people are like, I can't find True TV. They're going to watch the game.
Yeah.
And then by chance, if you win, you've got your first NCAA victory. You've got 1 share of cash. You're going to get a second share of cash. Granted, you're going to have to play a 1, and my dream of seeing Cooper Flagg in person might come to fruition. But if you play on that Tuesday as a 16 seed and everybody's watching, because it'll be the 16-16, 11-11 game. Wednesday, the big tournament hasn't started, so people are still going to be talking about the night before, and you're going to get more attention if you win. That's why I hope Omaha, if they're able to pull this off, remains a 16 and goes to Dayton. Okay. But we have to establish a couple of weeks out here, because what do we be? 3 weeks? 3 weeks from now would be the Wednesday, the day 2 of the Dayton. That if you win in Dayton, it's an NCAA tournament win.
Can I give you maybe the one scenario that you would take over that?
I would just take Matt winning 6 in a row.
Okay.
I want some good gear. I want a charter flight. I want to sleep in a heavenly bed.
You get a 15.
Oh, and I'd also like to be in the NCAA tournament.
You win the last 3 games, right? You'd be 17 and 3, correct? If you win out at this point, or what would the record?
So if they win, so it's just 13 and 3 in the regular season.
13 and 3. Okay. 13 and 3. You win the tournament, right? Okay. You go to the NCAA tournament. You're a 15 seed. Who do you play? The Michigan State Spartans, led by Frankie Fiddler, coming off the bench. January, February, Izzo, Crutchfield. Who knows?
It would be super uncomfortable for Frankie.
Might be advantage Omaha. Might be advantage Omaha at that point. If one of their most important guys coming off of the bench is a little bit uncomfortable, but not playing his best.
But isn't that like the way that the portal works with college basketball, where the Power 5 use mid-majors as their AAA.
Yeah.
Every
100%.
matchup, like Kansas against South Dakota State, Zeke Mayo.
Yeah. No, this is kind of the reason why I do like the NIL and the transfer portal. You get these kind of funny, weird niche, like, oh, this guy who used to play on this team is playing his old team in this big game. Like it gets really interesting. Like I'm sure there would be a lot of people who would like to see Louisville play Wisconsin. Like that would be entertaining. Heck, what if? Well, I don't think Wake Forest is going to get in, but if Wake Forest were to get in, if Hunter South ends up playing Gonzaga, like that's another one. What if Colorado State was in there? Wisconsin played Colorado State. John Tonje, a revenge game. Like. You have those weird little things. Hey, what if Nebraska played Charlotte? Anyway, that'd be great.
What if Creighton played Utah State?
Yeah, Stephen Ashworth. I mean, like
that's what college basketball is like. Oh, yeah, we got 3 guys for their team. Like Creighton plays Texas. Hey, there's Christian Bishop.
Exactly. What if Michigan played FAU? It'd be entertaining. I just think it would be. It'd be such a story. It'd be such a story if the Mavericks ended up playing Michigan State 15-2.
And what guy on Omaha's roster would take out Frankie on the first time he drove to the basket?
I think that's a Tony Osborne.
You know what would be really, really awkward is that if they do pass these, you get 5 years in school. I mean, Frankie'd play against Omaha, and then he'd be with Omaha next year.
It's like the NBA.
How would this? So
somebody just swerved on the road.
On my crazy things happen, man.
Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, you leave here, you go get paid. Why not come back to your home?
You can always come home.
Friggin' talks to all of us every. I mean,
the prodigal son returns. The prodigal son returns.
Tell you what, that's another part of the Chris Crutchfield resume. You lose a 20-point score, and you about ready to win the regular season. But that says a lot about the guys that are here.
Absolutely.
All right. On a different note, kind of on that, what if, so it's weird to watch Gonzaga because Gonzaga, I saw in a bracket yesterday, my bracket obsession, could be in Dayton.
Wow, really?
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So they helped themselves last night. How would what's the team that plays downtown?
Creighton Blue Jays? Omaha Mavericks.
No, downtown. Who's playing tonight?
Oh, Depaul.
No, who is Depaul playing?
Creighton.
Okay.
I say Creighton.
I know. I wanted you to say Creighton.
I say Creighton.
They're favored by 16.5.
Creighton. How would Blue Jay fans feel? And I have not seen this matchup at all because they're not on the seed lines that would match up. But Ryan Nembhard, who had 15 assists last night against Santa Clara, broke the Big West record. He would be ideal the last 2 years. I know Ashworth has come in and done what he's done, but if you think about a physical guard, get downhill, kick it out, how would people feel about that? And also, how do you feel that he is still in college?
I was about
to say. It seems like
it's been a while.
His Creighton and Spokane career, he should be done now or collecting Social Security. But how would people feel about that? Because they're still, even though Ashworth has had 2 really, really good years and has been ideal to feed the caulk, there still is a little, man, can you imagine Ryan Nembhard last year with Shireman and Trey, and Caulk, kicking it out, party in the streets, we're dancing on Douglas. Physical guard in the Big East. No one's going to touch him.
It just comes down to, oh my God, like, how would you feel if you added another shot creator to a really spacey Greg McDermott coached Creighton Blue Jay team? Yeah, I'd feel great about it. I would feel great if there was another guy on the team that could drive and kick and create shots not only for himself and others in order for this fling-throwing 3-point shooting team to get more open looks. That sounds great to me. Yeah. I think there would be a little bit of animosity and angst because it's like, look what you could have done.
And there's also probably still a little lingering.
Oh, sure.
Animosity of the departure.
There definitely is a level of like, once you get to a certain level of player in college basketball now, there's animosity when you leave, right? When Connor Essegian left for Wisconsin, and I still think it was a very good pickup for Nebraska because Nebraska needs a shooter, and I do think that if they get the right pieces around Connor Essegian next year, he'll be good. But I don't think there were a ton of people who were like, I don't think Connor reached that threshold if we're like, oh my God, how did we lose Essegian, right? Like, there is a little bit of a give and take here of like, You got to get to a certain point. Like if people are mad that you left, or if there is animosity or angst towards you leaving, that means you did something good. That means you played pretty damn good basketball, in my opinion.
All right, when we come back, Dylan content alert. We have Dylan content, not Dylan Dreyer. Where's she been? Hey, Jimmy, where's she been? She hasn't been on the Today Show very much lately.
She's been on her show.
Oh, what's her show?
The 9 o'clock, whatever they do.
Extra hour?
She wasn't there last week. No one was there last week. I guess they all took vacation.
Why are they taking vacation now? McAfee's on vacation too. What's so interesting about February where everybody takes a week vacation?
If you're in Omaha, it's warm.
For like a week at a time.
And we enjoy the hell out of that.
Because you could be.
And in 2 weeks, it'll be cold again.
You could be sitting at the Marriott Resort on Marco Island.
Oh my God, I've been to that
That's
resort.
why you
it's so
take
nice.
a vacation. All right, we got Dylan content. That's coming up next. Dylan content alert.
Okay.
Gary and Matt. And Jimmy, plus a chance in the next 25 minutes for you to win tickets to go see Omaha and Arizona State at Baxter. Big weekend for Omaha hockey, back off of off weekend and a huge series in the NCHC. And you could be inside of the backs, courtesy of Gary and Matt, 1620 The Zone. Second and 26 day in Tuscaloosa. Celebrate. Tua to Smith. Walk-off fashion. Nick Saban wins a national title. What's the day they celebrate?
I gotta look this up.
Green Bay, Jimmy, Philadelphia. This is, I think, back into the
03, that 4th and whatever, 28, 29.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that Ray Rhodes?
That was Sherman.
Was it Ray Rhodes was DC though, right? When they gave up that.
That I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, that I don't. But I don't. McMahon. Oh,
hey,
excuse me. I know. McNabb to Pinkston, I think.
Have you seen the wide receivers on this 2019 Alabama Crimson Tide roster?
There's some dudes.
They're okay.
They went on to make a little bit of money. Saban likes to remind everybody how much players off the Alabama roster made in contracts that following year, or what they do make in the NFL.
Saban loves to tell people how his team would be favored by Vegas in every hypothetical game, and then his team, after he leaves them, goes on to lose 2 games where they're 20-point.
Ed Donatel, that was a DC.
That's his favorite. That was Saban's
Ray
favorite.
Rhodes might have been over on the other side for the Eagles.
Ed Donatel was not the DC after that game.
Anytime Alabama got slighted slightly, like the little bit of being slighted, they'd be like, well, you put us against these teams, who would be the favorite in that game? So dumb. I just hate that argument. It's one of the things that bugs me. That is like the most bugging argument I've ever heard. Like that college football coaches make, or just coaches in general make. Like, well, hypothetically, if you were to put us together, we'd be the favorite. Buddy, upsets happen. Okay, you played the games.
Mitchell,
hey, by the way, you played games previously to earn the right to play in this game. You lost those games. So how about you just go home, you get better players, and you be a better coach? Okay.
If I was running ESPN Classic, which
rest in peace,
hasn't been around for a while, I missed ESPN Classic yesterday.
Why is that?
And it hasn't been, was it 21? At the end of like New Year's Eve 2021, they just discontinued ESPN Classic because I would like a station where I can watch old college football games. And all it does is just replays old college football games. And you know what? It doesn't have to be old college football games. It can be college football games from this past year. Like when you're just jonesing, you were saying the other night, you were like, man, I was kind of looking for a college football game.
Yeah.
When you're jonesing for a college football game, I want a channel that I can go to, and there's going to be a college football game on, whether it be from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, which we currently are in, or like this past season.
Mm-hmm. How many games?
Like I would like to see Appalachian State JMU.
How many games do you think that are considered to be really, really good? And this is more so for you two than for me. It's for you two.
How stereotype us?
No.
He did. I think he did.
No, because I think you
you
guys
did.
have a much better memory of this stuff than I do. You do.
Do.
No, you have a much better memory of the. We're talking to Sport Rain Man over here. You say the year, the date, in a basketball game, he can tell you who the leading scorer was.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think he's going the roundabout way of saying we're old.
Yeah. No, I'm going the roundabout way of saying
you guys
you're smart,
don't know
and
Jolly,
you guys always remember
phonics, and now you're old enough. You remember this stuff. You remember the Bassmaster Elite Series.
There was only 30 channels on cable.
You remember that when ESPN Classic picked up Arliss with Robert Wool?
I remember when ESPN 8 the Ocho was the first time they ever did it. It was a big deal.
I remember when ESPN Classic was Classic Sports. Rest in peace, Al Troutwig.
Hey, passed away earlier this week at 68. Also, rest in peace. Now we're really getting them. Stump the Schwab.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
who was recently
I was
passed
going to
away.
say Stump Mitchell. Good running back.
How many?
I used to get a lot of his football cards. Like that's what I would call commons when I was collecting football cards. A lot of Stump Mitchell with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Benoit in my NBA cards. I had Benoit with 3 different teams. Shout out Big Ben.
All right, you told us we're old. Continue.
How many classic football games do you guys think could come on and you wouldn't remember or wouldn't know the result of the game? Like how many? Like, hey, this is considered to be a really, really good classic. You happened 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it's on your TV, and you don't remember, or you don't know the score of how it resulted.
I probably would know because of the time of my life and the fact that I was more with it. Now, if it was something that happened 6 weeks ago, things are starting to fail me as I get older, so there's always a possibility, but I probably would know more than most. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting old. Our birthdays are a week apart.
They do say an owner becomes like its dog, right?
It's the opposite. She's become like me.
I
She's
think
crotchety.
I think we've
RBF.
I think we're having a Benjamin Button situation, though. I think it's the other way around.
She's getting younger.
Yeah, you're getting more dog.
Okay, I got some dog in me. You are making me younger.
You got some dog in you.
I think probably not very many.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to go back. Like, what if I ran ESPN Classic, which, by the way, you remember the first live event was the implosion of Kingdom.
Yeah.
That was the
funny.
first live event on ESPN Classic.
Rest in peace, Kingdom.
What if they had, like, I would love to go back and revisit the 2007 college football season, which is one of the craziest seasons of all time in the sport, where we almost had Mizzou and KU play for a national championship.
Oh, I remember.
And we had so many different number ones. Today is the year 2007 on my ESPN College Football Classic channel.
I've been asking for this for years. You
would have loved that season.
I want these channels to do like 2.5 to 3 hour, just not documentaries. Like, I don't need sit down interviews or anything like that. I just need 2.5 to 3 hours of just give me the season. Just give me the season. What happened in the season? Bring me to key moments. Bring me to key plays. Tell me what was like cool, what was not cool. Like even like little niche things that happened. Like, hey, this guy broke this record. Or this
like
guy did
MLB
that.
Network season.
Yes, a little bit. Like a 3-hour season recap, basically, but of like old season. Like, hey, and if they released it like every week, like, hey, dude, they're doing
Keith Jackson.
Man,
I like where you're going.
Man, they're doing 2003. Oh my God, man, they're doing 2001 this week. We get to watch about the youth. Like that would catch traction for like people, and that would be perfect during this time of the year for the people who have like that hankering for college football. Just every week, they'd be like, hey, we're gonna do the 2010 season, and people are like, I don't really remember
Cam Newton.
What happened? Let me jog my memory. What happened in 2010? Okay, let me go and watch it. And you become smarter. But I don't want not a documentary. Like, I don't need coaches and I don't need anything like that. Like, I just need a couple of announcers, one host, and a really good producer who can splice these things together.
2010, Roy Halou just scored again against Mizzou.
Hey, I would take that on ESPN Classic.
Hell yes.
That'd be a hell of a way to just waste time during the sports season.
Waste time? That's more like
just release it every Sunday when there's not a Sunday night football game. Instead of 3 hours of watching like the two most irrelevant teams play, instead of watching the Bears play the Seattle Seahawks, let's just go ahead and watch a 3 hour not even doc, just recap of the 1998 season.
What I would do to see LSU, Arkansas, and Darren McFadden from 07.
Oh my God. What I would do to have the recap of Thunder and Lightning at USC, Lendell White and Reggie Bush.
It was fun.
Like Trojan Horse, one of my favorite 30 for 30s. Incredible.
How do you take Reggie out on that last play?
I would take the USC Fresno State game on ESPN Classic, where he kind of solidified his Heisman Trophy that year.
I would take
about games I remember.
The USC Notre Dame, the Bush push. I mean, that's a classic.
Why didn't college football outlaw that?
I don't know. They've outlawed. Well, they don't really outlaw a whole lot of things anymore. If anything, they allow everything to happen in this.
Why don't we run? A lot of college football programs are not putting their quarterback under center, and so my God, they're not going to run a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
What will be the first college football team that this upcoming year runs the tush push? It is
Army.
It is legal in college football.
Whoever has a big quarterback.
Army. Leave it to Army.
What about Nebraska with big Dylan Raiola?
No? Harburg. Put Heinrich back there. Put the 6'5", 260 now, 270.
Call the package the Carney tank package.
Yeah.
I like
modern day belldozer.
And look, he's playing tight end now, but it's like riding a bike, taking a snap, right? I mean, that never leaves you. It never leaves you. I still think Heinrich can take a snap. Why not? And then you put two big guys behind him, put Lindenmeyer behind him, push him right into the, it's better than the 4th and 1 call they had against Michigan, where he did try doing a QB run. But instead he did it out of the shotgun as opposed to under the center. You remember that game? That was actually the most competitive part of that game, was that play of that 4th and 1, them marching, and then that happened. It's one of the stupidest play calls.
We have Dylan content.
We always have Dylan
Ready?
content.
We have Dylan Ryler content.
What did he
You
do
ready?
now?
Oh, it's not what he did.
It's what he didn't do.
What didn't he do?
I don't know.
He didn't cut his hair yet. Give him time.
Okay, so On3 has released the top 10 NILers in the Big Ten.
Oh.
I'll let you guess who is the top earner
Underwood.
in the Big Ten.
Underwood. Bryce Underwood.
So they do it by year.
Oh.
So instead of like the up front, or I guess he's not the number one, but he's in the top 10.
So,
but I think what they did is just 5 years of his $12 million.
Okay. So he's like
at 2.9.
Would Jeremiah Smith be on the list?
So
Okay.
Jeremiah Smith is the highest, according to On3, however they got this information. He is the highest NILer. He makes $4 million a year.
Okay.
Rightfully so. What if I told you that maybe Jeremiah Smith will not be the leading receiver for Ohio State in 2025? What about Carnell Tate?
Carnell Tate. I love that shout from you. I love Carnell Tate, Chicago guy. He is awesome. He's a really good, and he benefited. I mean, Carnell Tate had some games where he looked like the best wide receiver out on Ohio State's team. Like, not a joke. Like, with Ibuka next to him and stuff like that, he had an awesome game. I mean, there was just multiple games.
Sucks to have Tate and Smith catching balls from now a brand new quarterback. Jeez.
Yeah.
He
looked great, man. He runs a great out route. Carnell Tate runs one of the prettiest out routes I've ever seen.
Nebraska's starting quarterback is 5th on this list.
Okay.
He, according to On3, makes $2 million. Now, I have heard more people say the $3 million, but On3 has him as $2 million, which puts him as the 5th highest NILer in the Big Ten. And that's probably exactly what the quarterback in Nebraska should be paid.
I agree.
Now,
can I try and guess the other 4? Or if you want to, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Hold
on, I got to bring up the list, but continue on.
I think it's a good thought, though. Like, Nebraska is a brand where they need to spend money on football. They need to invest on the most important position and year in, year out. And I don't think this is a Dylan Raiola like novelty thing. I think I'm on your page here that it needs to be an every year thing.
So in revenue sharing, should the quarterback at Nebraska be the highest paid NILer? We're going to say just the highest earner. Should the quarterback be the number one slot every single year, regardless if it's a Dylan or a Dayton or a Jet Tomala? I just threw him in there. That's not.
Every year. Every year. It does not matter. There's no excuse. There's no reason why you should not be paying top dollar to get the best gunslinger you possibly can each and every single year. You have the facilities. You have the money. You have a coaching staff that you've paid a lot that should be enticing. It should be enticing to play for Dana Holgorsen. And if Dana leaves, you hope that Matt Rule goes out and hires another coordinator that it is enticing to play for if you're a quarterback. So yeah, every single year, Nebraska should be spending top dollar on a quarterback because football's the sport. That's the sport at the athletic department. That's the sport that people care about the most. That's the moneymaker. And you got to invest in that. And the best product you can have on the field starts at the top, and that's the quarterback.
What if, and we don't know what this revenue sharing is going to look like. I imagine 75% of the money will go to football. But remember, scholarship numbers are increasing. Roster limits are in play. So there's a give and take. But I imagine that 75% of Nebraska's revenue sharing will go to football. So there's 25% to divide up over men's basketball, volleyball, pick a couple other sports. But not everybody's going to get paid.
Quick question before we get to the list. Do you think there would ever be a situation where, let's just say Nebraska basketball, but it could be any sport really, says, hey,
isn't he the highest earner? Isn't Bearcay the highest earner on Nebraska's roster?
Yep. So you go out and you say, hey, you go to the athletic department. There's this top prospect in the country. We need to get him. This guy's it. This girl, maybe it's volleyball. This girl's it. Do you think Nebraska athletics would ever be like, all right, we'll take 1% away or 2% away from football in order to fund that other sport getting that top prospect?
I like your energy. I like your thought. No.
Yeah. I think this is a question that everybody has to ask in athletic departments and themselves.
Unless that person is so good that you're going to win a national championship with them.
So there you go. So that answers the question. So that answers that. How often will that happen? Very, very rare.
May happen more in volleyball than men's basketball.
Yes.
I know that's a shocker.
Yeah.
So Jeremiah Smith, $4 million. Drew Aller, 3.2. Bryce Underwood, 2.9. Caleb Downs, 2.4. Dylan at $2 million. Again, I hear more 3. Regardless, you're the quarterback in Nebraska.
Sawyer on that
these
list?
are guys that are in school still.
Oh, in school.
Braden Smith, 1.9.
Wow.
Nick Singleton, 1.8.
That's a good one. K-Tron?
Evan Stewart, 1.7. Now, this is football and men's basketball, so that's why I'm about ready to drop in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, both at 1.6. Luke Altmaier, 1.3. Good on Illinois. Illinois 2025 is going to be the Indiana of 2024. The retention by Bielema, they're going to be a hot team. People are going to talk about them in the offseason. Bielema's going to go to Vegas for media day. People are going to love him long time. He might even be shirtless.
I love that.
Now, Big Bert he's put on some LBs since his shirtless pick. So,
sure.
I mean, the man moves and the roles are going to be all over the place. But, hey, I think there'll be 6 teams in the Big Ten will win 9 games this year. They will be one of them again. Jonah Coleman, 1.2. USC's quarterback, 1.2.
Moss? Or
Maeva.
Oh, Jordan Maeva? The backup?
Sayan is 1.1, who is the future quarterback probably at Ohio State.
Maeva is that a bump? Did he get a bump up after playing after Moss?
Now, this is according to On3, so
that doesn't make
sense.
How
accurate this is. Now, I think Jeremiah Smith does make $4 million.
Yeah.
But Nebraska's quarterback is 5th among Big Ten football and men's basketball earners.
I think that maybe it would be a little bit exaggerated to say, hey, the expectation every single year is for the quarterback of Nebraska to be 5th overall in the Big Ten amongst those athletes. That might be a bit of a stretch or a big ask, but I don't think it's a big ask at all. I think it's honestly the standard that the quarterback is the highest paid player amongst the athletic department year in and year out. Because that's where we're at in football. The most important position on the field is the quarterback. And that sport is the most important sport in the athletic department. And you need to invest in the most important position in the most important sport. That's not hot take radio. That's just a fact. And if it's anything other than that, then that means bad things for the upcoming season of Nebraska football.
You think the reaction will be, because these more figures are becoming public, they'll be like, well, we're not getting what we should get out of a $3 million quarterback. How soon is that coming?
See, that's what I worry about.
Will that be Houston Christian, or will we wait another week before Michigan?
I think it might be in the first quarter of Cincinnati. I think the first incomplete pass, there'll probably be people. That's what we're paying for.
I don't want. I hope that's not the case, and I'm a little bit tongue in cheek. I know where you're going.
I'm tongue in cheek,
but it'll be. Well, you shouldn't have been doing those damn TikToks with Emmett Johnson. Stop dancing. Okay, stop going to high school games. Why weren't you in the film room? Why weren't you in the weight room? There'll be no gray area. It'll either be, this is great, and you are the most popular guy that's ever played football at Nebraska if you ball out, or if you struggle, it'll be like, told you. You know what? Why were you sitting at Scott when you could have been sitting in Lincoln looking at film?
I know you're saying that's tongue-in-cheek, but you and I both know that it really is the truth. I mean, that's just how people here, and maybe warranted at times, if we're being honest. And another thing is like about this conversation, like he kind of set himself up for that, right? I mean, you kind of have to
have the territory, yeah.
It comes with the territory, and you kind of have to be aware that if you're out in the public and you're not always doing football and you're doing other public things, that people are going to expect more out of you, because what's the assumption? Hey, the assumption is that you got the football thing on lock. Mm-hmm. The football thing's taken care of. You've done, hey, after you finish your homework, you can go and play video games, right? That's what you were told growing up, right? So if you're going out and you're doing those things, the assumption is, hey, football thing's taken care of, obviously. You're doing your work. If the work doesn't show itself on the field, those questions will come and those criticisms will come, and honestly, it might be warranted.
You imagine the reaction if this list had come out and a Nebraska tackle was in the top 15 of earners.
Oh, yes.
Be like, that's where we are. That's
Yes.
what Nebraska is. But that guy's not very good. We're overpaying for him. What is going on? I do also wonder this as we move along and this evolves, that if you are paying like contracts, like is there attachment to it? You're going to be out in the community. You're going to go do this. You're going to make appearances for us. Now, we are lucky around here with our 3 Division I programs that the student athletes, male and female, do a lot of community service. Yeah. They're out in the community. They make appearances. Not all of them are advertised. So we're very lucky in this area. But I wonder if there will be, because part of this is, it's all kind of colliding, Matt. Spring games, moving into open spring practices, people feel like they're getting squeezed for cash for their seats or stadium upgrades or NIL, that they're losing the connection to the student athlete that they felt like they had. If there will be contracts that say, hey, if we're going to pay you $3 million, Mr. Quarterback, you're going to make a lot of appearances on behalf of the University of Nebraska. That's going to be we're paying you, so we expect this back as a student athlete when you have time for it.
I think so too. There's nothing worse than paying more for the same product, paying more money for the same exact thing. And so I think along your line of thinking, if fans are paying more or they're investing more, they expect a little bit more, right? They expect, like you said, for appearances to be made and have that connection. And this goes all back to a more macro conversation. But I've always thought that one of the downsides of having student athletes make money is that you do lose that connection a little bit from the student to student, right? Mm-hmm. Students used to have used to connect more with student athletes because there wasn't much difference between students and student athletes. The only difference is you're a lot bigger, you're a lot taller, you're a lot more athletic, you have a lot more on your plate, you're an athlete, you go out and you play. But at the end of the day, we are kind of all just broke college kids trying to make our way in life who like to have a good time, right? Yeah. And like nowadays, that's not the case at all. You have students who can't really connect to student athletes because those student athletes make so much money, right? And they don't have to go through the similar experiences anymore because of the NIL and the transfer portal and everything like that. And I think that it's just one of those small little things that's a common theme in college football of students and alumni and just fans in general, with money being given to players, there is that slight connection that is lost. And I do think that there needs to be an investment from an outside investment from the athletic departments to reinvest in that connection.
Coaches hate that this stuff could become public.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the locker room, everybody knows, nowadays people know how much you're getting, or at least a little, the add-ons.
Yeah.
But if it's out there and it's public and it's real numbers that you know that our quarterback is getting paid $2 million, but he's late to workouts and, I know he doesn't go to class. I mean, as a coach, that's why coaches are like, I'll go to the NFL. But coaches are like, you better hope that your locker room is pretty strong. Because that we've seen, that's why I think at KU this year, Jimmy.
That's exactly what it is.
They paid AJ Storr a lot of cash.
The team hates each other.
Yeah, and there's a lot of NIL involved. And some guys, like Zeke Mayo got paid pretty well to go from South Dakota State to come back home to Lawrence, and he's balling out. Mm-hmm. But there's some guys that are getting paid really well on that roster that guys in that locker room are like, man.
There are dudes in that locker room already in the portal.
He ain't paying like $1 million player.
It's important, though. Matt Rule has talked about, that he was told when he was in Carolina, someone came up to him and said, hey, make sure that the highest paid guy in your locker room is a guy who's been here, not a new dude. It'll be interesting to see if he keeps that same mindset, because that is one way to lose a locker room too. Having a guy come together and then the highest paid dude is someone who hasn't been with us.
You're talking about Bryce Underwood, because the top 5 on this list are all players that entered their current school as freshmen. All right, quick break. Come back, Steve. Stay right there. We'll get to you, John Walker, Creighton Depaul tonight, 8 o'clock tip downtown.
Was that a yawn?
I don't think there'll be trouble getting out of the parking lots tonight.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be sitting.
16.5 point favorite.
You know where to park now.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're back more of Gary and Matt after this. All right, before we get to Steve here, chance for you to win a pair of tickets to either Friday or Saturday night to watch Omaha and Arizona State Monster Series. Actually, these are for Friday night to watch a very important series. Friday night is they got a special promotion. I don't see it here on the list, but I know they have a special promotion going on. We will take the first correct caller to win a pair of tickets to UNO and Arizona State Friday night. Who is currently in first place in the NCHC, the great hockey league that Omaha is in? Omaha, right now, they're in the top 3, but they're not number 1. Who is currently in first place in the NCHC? First correct caller.
Nice. I wouldn't have gotten it.
402-951-1620. You're going to win a pair of tickets to the Friday night Omaha-Arizona State game.
I've skated at that team's rink before, actually.
Yeah.
Played like a little futures camp at that team's stadium. Great little place.
I drank beers with their former head coach, Andy Murray, one time in Omaha.
That's awesome.
Here is Steve. Steve, thanks for holding. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, thanks. I've been listening to you guys for a while here, and I'm kind of surprised by the take that Nebraska should just be in the position to be middle of the pack or even a little bit higher for forking out money for a quarterback. Because it seems like to me that the most important thing would be the fit.
Mm-hmm.
And to just throw money out there to have players grab at it, not knowing on whether or not they're going to fit into the program. Meaning, is the offensive line good for this quarterback?
Sure.
Do they have the receivers that are good for this quarterback? Is the offensive coordinator the right fit for a quarterback? And to think that money for the single player is a big factor in a program, I think is kind of silly.
Well, I think, Steve, there's the assumption, right, or the hope at least, that Nebraska football builds a program in a way where they do have the things that you're talking about. They do have the solid trenches. They do have the skill position players where they can regularly go out and get a top quarterback and pay top price for a quarterback that would fit into that system because they've done a good job in investing and developing and all the other things around them, right? The goal and the hope is almost as if every year you can, or, every other year, whatever it may be, you can go in and you can invest a lot of money in a top guy because you've done all the other work around that to know that, hey, this dude and a lot of other dudes can come in and succeed. And so in that case, yeah, you should always consistently be investing a lot in quarterback.
Because I would say right now, why wouldn't you want to be throwing more money at wide receivers than you would at the quarterback?
Well, I think they've invested a lot of money in wide receivers. They've done a good job getting Isaiah Hunter out of Cal and Dane Key and Hardly Gilmore, and they've invested a lot in freshman high school wide receivers. I think a lot of the conversation.
No.
What'd you say?
Dollar amount, no. But dollar amount, no. And you need a lot more.
Well, I mean, do we know exactly how much those guys are making? I mean, we're talking about 4 or 5 different guys that they went out and with their NIL money invested a lot of money to go and get these guys to play on their team, and
but they're not, but they're not out there saying, hey, we need to be spending top 4 money, top 5 money for a wide receiver.
But you have to invest in other positions. You have to invest they're investing in other positions, and they've done a good job getting wide receiver. They've gotten guys who have proven commodities and paid a lot of money for them to do that. They've invested that money. I mean, that's probably the number one position they've invested in the most this season in terms of talent. I mean, they've gotten 5 new guys. And so I think you'd have more of an argument in terms of offensive line.
Well, okay, fine. Doesn't matter which one.
Sure.
Anyone that you need 4 or 5 positions or players for that position, I get that. But I think that would be. I think going after the quarterback with the biggest bundle of money is the absolute worst way to approach it.
Well, going after the quarterback with the biggest bundle of money means that you're going after the quarterback who's top in his class, who is going to change the game and affect the game more than any other position that you're talking about. And so are you saying essentially you would rather them not spend the amount of money they have in Dylan Raiola and spend it in other positions? Because I mean,
correct.
Okay.
Right now, yes.
Okay.
Right now, yes.
I would just agree to disagree in that because that's a 5-star quarterback and a guy.
What you should have is you should have a bundle of money that it's for the wide receivers and a bundle of money for the offensive line. That both of them should be substantially more than what your bundle of money is for the quarterback position.
Well, they're probably equal. I mean, they're just spending one in what Dylan Raiola is making, and then they're spending a lot. They're spreading that money out amongst the guys that they have to get. That's how you build a roster. We are in an era now where you have a salary cap, and you have to be smart in how you spend things. And going out and spending a big bundle of money, as you want to say it, on a top quarterback is how you're going to win football games in this new era of college football.
But right now we don't have a salary cap. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Steve, they've spent money on wide receivers, not where an individual wide receiver is making $2 million, but they've invested in that position. This is they have that money. The only position that the head coach that runs the University of Nebraska has spoken about that's going to cost money is the quarterback. They happen to have a 5-star quarterback who is a brand that's going to cost him a little bit more. Okay, so there's more expectations, but he's getting paid $2 million at Nebraska because his last name's Raiola. If his last name was Harburg, he ain't making $2 million.
Sure.
Okay? We're saying that the quarterback position in Nebraska should, in their dividing out of the money, should always be near the top. But also should be a left tackle, a rush end, a wide receiver.
Right, but when building the program, though, you need 5, if not 7, offensive linemen.
Well,
okay,
Steve, they've tried with offensive linemen. Okay, it's not like they have come with a suitcase full of cash. They just do not have had anybody that said, you know what, for that $1 million you're offering me, I'll go after it. They have have put together some money.
The NFL does the same thing here. Hold on here.
Okay,
the NFL does the same thing here. Okay, 3 offensive linemen do not make a good offensive lineman. That's why the pool of money needs to be substantially more for the position of offensive line versus the position of quarterback.
But you're comparing two.
And Steve, we got to move into the next hour. But
you're comparing two different things.
Well,
because NFL offensive linemen and college offensive linemen are very different.
Okay, so this discussion also is about the money you pay to retain somebody or to reward somebody to the money that you're getting out of the portal.
Yeah.
It's a good conversation. It's a little bit complicated in this current state. It'll clean up more when you get to revenue sharing.
And when we have an actual figure of what we don't know how much money really is to go around from team to team. So it's hard to say what they're paying and what number is being allocated to what.
They spent good money in the offseason on wide receivers.
They did.
Coming up next, John Walker. We'll talk about Creighton's game tonight against DePaul and Big East end of the season awards. Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year. St. John's could win the Big East tonight. Haven't happened since 91-92.
Be big.
Name your favorite Johnny back then. Chris Mullen was not there, Jimmy. The answer to our question to win tickets to Omaha hockey on Friday night, Western Michigan. Hey,
Kalamazoo.
I got things rolling.
Steve, Steve.
Number 3 in the country.
Kalamazoo, beautiful at this time of year.
All right. Congratulations to Steve. We'll have a couple more pairs of tickets to give away before the week is done on 1620 The Zone. All right, season winding down, seating on the line for MSG in the Big East tournament, and of course the NCAA tournament tonight. Creighton back home late night. Get a grandpa nap. 8:00 tip off. Another streamer between Creighton and Depaul. Feels like that game should be on the stream. I think Peacock is the official network of Depaul and Seton Hall.
Yes, and the CW.
John Walker joins us from the Omaha World Herald. Good morning.
Hello. How are you guys?
Good. Hey, do you have a vote in postseason awards?
I have an AP vote, but only the Big East coaches vote on the Big East Awards.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So then I think you can. You're kind of excused from this, so you can talk about it more. What's your read on the discussion about the Big East Player of the Year? So St. John's is going to win the league, and so Pitino will be the Coach of the Year.
Sure.
They might have the Defensive Player of the Year. Some are saying, hey, what about Player of the Year? And we're going, what about the guy that wears 11 that plays in downtown Omaha? And then I'm looking and seeing people like, hey, Cam Jones might be a first-team All-American. What's your read as we get to the end about how the Big East Player of the Year is going to shake out amongst the voting block of coaches?
I kind of tweeted about this the other day because somebody from St. John's had pointed out, why can't Zuby be Defensive Player of the Year? And, like I just said, the Big East coaches are the only ones who, I don't know, maybe some of them have an assistant fill it out, but the coaches are the only ones who vote. And I have sat and listened to every coach who has come to Omaha this year talk about how they absolutely cannot wait for Ryan Kalkbrenner to leave Creighton. So I don't know a world in which all of these coaches say these things about him. Oh, he wrecks the game. He changes our plan offensively, this, that, and the other. I don't know a world in which all of these coaches would say that about him and then not vote him for Depoy. And I love Zuby's game. I think Zuby is the front runner for Depoy entering next season. But when you have a guy who is on the verge of being in the same breath as Patrick Ewing, that's probably your Depoy. All of that to say, if you have guys with similar offensive here's how I see it. If you have guys with similar offensive outputs, obviously the way R.J. Lewis and the way Ryan Kalkbrenner and the way Cam Jones score are entirely different.
Yes.
But if they have similar offensive outputs and similar offensive impacts for their team, and only one of those guys is also in the Depoy conversation, isn't that the best player?
I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I view it. Again, that's not like a Creighton homer type of thing. I think I'm fairly critical of them when the time's right. But it's just like, okay, yeah, if all of these guys are in the conversation and we're talking about the best player, not the best scorer, and they all have similar offensive outputs, the only guy also in the Depoy conversation has to be the Player of the Year.
Wow.
I would think.
Wow. Can you imagine the reaction when you get to New York City if Kalk wins both of those and wins for the fourth straight year the D Player of the Year?
That'd be
awesome. It'd be nuts. It would actually be nuts. Now, with all that being said, I think there's a really good chance that R.J. Lewis gets Player of the Year.
Wow.
And they give Kalk Depoy, because then Madison Square Garden doesn't have to burn down. So who knows? But yeah, that's kind of how I see it with a couple weeks left in the regular season.
I don't know. I thought it'd be more of a Cam Jones conversation than maybe an R.J. Lewis conversation, but that's neither here nor there.
We've talked about this. Cam Jones is confusing to me.
Yeah.
Like, I think to appreciate Cam Jones, you have to watch every single minute of Marquette instead of like bouncing into their bigger games. And then where he'll go on a run, but then he'll disappear. And you're like, how are people talking about him being a first-team AP All-American?
Yeah, that's the thing is like, not that Cam Jones has disappeared, like in moments. That's not the right word. That's not the word I'm looking for. But there have been stretches where you're like, oh wow, I forgot Marquette has Cam Jones.
Yeah.
In to be fair, Ryan Kalkbrenner has had stretches like that, and RJ Lewis has had stretches like that. But I feel like those stretches have come so consistently. Have come so consistently for Cam Jones. And, probably through like mid-January, I would have said, yeah, Cam Jones is the Big East Player of the Year. Argue with a wall. Now, that's completely changed.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if Ryan Kalkbrenner wins it over RJ Lewis, while Kalkbrenner has more points, rebounds, assists, a higher field goal percentage, a higher 3-point percentage, a higher effective field goal percentage, higher PER, and more win share. So it'll be interesting to see.
Is that good?
Yeah. Is that good? Is that what you're supposed to do when you're competing with another guy for an award? I don't know. Anyway, regardless of all that, John, it's been an interesting season, to say the least. And we're getting to the very end for Creighton basketball here. They're on this 4-game stretch where they play DePaul tonight. It should be easy pickings for the Blue Jays. Their next real challenge before the Big East tournament is going to come when they go on the road against Xavier. But I don't want to put a bow on the entire season completely, but like up to this point, how have you seen the demeanor of players and coaches change throughout the year as there's been, different phases of this season for this team? And I mean, you could even argue what Creighton is now is a completely different team than they were, to begin the year. So how have you seen just, players and coaches in general, just their demeanor and how they act and what they say just kind of evolve as the season has gone on?
Yeah, I think they're not as tight. Greg McDermott, hell or high water tells them to take it one game at a time. Like if the sun's shining, take it one game at a time. If it's storming, take it one game at a time. So they've kept that throughout the whole season, really. But that's really, really, really hard to do when you get blown out by your in-state rival on your home floor, and then you have to go to Vegas, and you have 3 games in 5 days, and Stephen Ashworth has an ankle sprain, and Ryan Kalkbrenner has a lower body injury, and you get blown out by San Diego State and give up an 8-1 run in the final minute to Texas A&M. It's super hard to keep the faith in those moments. And then they beat Kansas, and it's like, okay, it looks like the win that can galvanize this team. Oh, well, the guy who helped you beat Kansas is now having season-ending surgery.
Yeah.
So it's been absolutely nuts. And then they get blown out at Georgetown. It's like, okay, this is grim. This is pretty grim. And we all knew that at the time. They were really on the bubble. Not like, oh, they were flirting with the bubble. No. They were firmly on the bubble at that point. And they just kept saying, like, we have to get this one. We know we have to string wins together. One game at a time, we have to string wins together. And it was, it was a sense of urgency that we haven't seen over the past couple of years because they've been so good and had avoided adversity for the most part that they didn't need to go into urgency mode that early in the season. And then they had the 9-game win streak and everything changed. Like, Frank Caliendo was at practice before that UConn game. Frank Caliendo wasn't showing up before Kansas. You know what I mean? So no, it's that's kind of how the demeanor's changed. Like they're in a much more confident place now, and rightfully so. And they know, I think as you guys just said, they know that they are not anywhere close to the team now that they were in December. Or even early January. And if anybody needs proof of that, look what happened against Georgetown the first time, and look what happened against Georgetown on Sunday.
That's true. John Walker, the World Herald, joining us. So speaking of demeanor, I've been lucky enough to see Jason Green since he was in middle school playing basketball and then to Millard North. And we see moments where we will always have the Oregon explode through the lane, grab a rebound, vicious dunk. And then we see, okay, coming into this year, this is the guy. He's ready to go. he's going to be a full complement to this team. And the start of the season wasn't scoring much, wasn't shooting well, wasn't getting to the free throw line. And then talk about demeanor over really like the past 4 games. He's a completely different guy. And all of those numbers that were kind of, I don't want to say minuscule, but we're not like jumping off the page at you. All of a sudden you're going, he's getting to the free throw line.
Yeah.
My God, he's shooting the ball well. And I think in the last 4 games, he's at least a double-figure score. What's changed? And then the other part of this, John, what is the next step? If we finished up strong in February, what does March look like for Jason Green?
Are you a big World Herald guy?
Yes, I am. I'm leading it in.
That's the story I wrote this morning, actually. I'm going to tweet that out when I get off of here.
That's awesome.
It's just Jason Green over the past 4 games. Yeah, I mean, he sat. I did a big story on him during the preseason because, as you said, we all kind of expected a really big jump from him after the way he played through the last 6 weeks of last season. And then he dealt with I can't remember exactly what it was, and it wasn't anything major at all. Like he dealt with a little bit of a nagging injury through the preseason, didn't play in the Iowa State exhibition, which is nuts to say because that feels like an entirely different season ago. Didn't play in that exhibition, and then, they weren't getting the offensive production they needed. In hindsight, that probably wasn't solely on Jason Green. Like, as we saw over the next few weeks, that this was a group that just needed time. Like, one thing or the other just needed time. But anyways, he comes out of the starting lineup and he's playing single-digit minutes a game, even when Creighton's playing bad competition. It's like, this is not the season he had in mind. Like, this is not what he had in mind when I talked to him for that big story I did. He was like, this is the hardest offseason this offseason was the hardest I've ever worked. And that's coming from, you said you watch him since middle school. This is a guy that, like, does the dirty stuff. And he was like, this is the hardest I've ever worked. I want it now more than I ever have. And then it was kind of, whether it was his doing or whatever, it was kind of taken away for a couple of weeks. And over the last 4 games, over the last little more than 2 weeks, I mean, this has been what Jason Green envisioned. He's averaging a little over 10 points a game through the last 4. He's chased around Cam Jones and Eric Dixon and Micah Peavy and, like, you name it.
Yeah.
And so he's still doing the things that everyone came to love and expect from Jason Green. Still getting scrappy rebounds, but still playing hard-nosed defense. But now he's added 10 points a game to that. That is dangerous for any other team playing Creighton. Because it doesn't make a world of a difference in the moment. But you look at the end of the game and go, oh my God, this guy has 8 points and 5 rebounds, and he just, chased around our best scorer for 30 minutes. What?
Yep.
And that's really all Creighton could ask for him of him, and that's what Creighton's gotten for him over the past couple of weeks.
And the ultimate glue guy, I mean, is kind of what you describe. I mean, just Jason Green.
Really.
Absolutely,
I mean, the hometown kid playing for the hometown team.
Couldn't write a better
really
story.
Just come alive in big moments, and he'll have, I'm sure, quite a few of them coming up. Ray, real quick, I forgot to mention in that tangent, he hit a couple of threes against Georgetown. So Creighton is now 7-1 when he hits a 3 this season.
Love that.
And oh my goodness, what was the other one? Oh, they are now. He was in the starting lineup on opening night. We just said that didn't work. They took him out. His first game back in the starting lineup was that first matchup with Villanova in Omaha, and Creighton is 12-3 with him back in the starting lineup.
There's the great stats for you, great bar stats from our friend John Walker. Let's talk about this. John Walker, the Omaha World Herald, here with us. John, you talk about Jason Green having a really good 4-game stretch. I want to talk about another guy who, hasn't had the best stretch as of late. That's Jackson McAndrew. And there was this kind of moment, and I know you're going to remember this, starting around the Alabama game all the way up until the Butler game, where 5 In 5 of his 6 games, he was scoring double digits. He was hitting threes. He looked really good. He was looking more aggressive. Since that game, he hasn't had, since Butler, since January 11th, he has not had a double-digit game. Now, he hasn't lost a ton of minutes or anything like that. He's still in the 22 to 25-minute range of game. He's still in the starting lineup. But have you seen, like, what's the difference been between where he is now and where he was a couple of, honestly, a month ago, where a lot of people thought it was coming on and he was going to be this massive contributor down the stretch, where he has a ton of potential to do that in his career? I mean, he's only a freshman, but I mean, what has there been a difference, you think, in that, in his play, or what you've seen?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. So, like, it's a few things. He's had some good looks. He's just flat out missed some good looks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's missed some good ones. He's had a couple rim out, but teams are also playing him like the scorer, like the shooter he was earlier in the season. Like early, you think, let's take Alabama, for example. They're like, okay, yeah, like if it's going to be Ashworth, Kalkbrenner, at the time, Mason Miller, or Jemiah Neal, we're going to let the if you're going to beat us, the freshman's got to do it.
Sure.
And, a lot of teams did that, rightfully so. Like, yeah, if you're going to beat us, we'll make the freshman do it. And then teams realize they can't do that because he will hit from outside. And so they've started to play him a little bit differently, play him a little bit closer as well. And then not every freshman hits it. The guy up in Stores hasn't, obviously. But, you hit a little bit of that freshman wall.
Yeah.
Where you're on the tail end of a season that's a lot longer, a lot more physical, a lot more grueling than anything that, Jackson has probably played through before. So that just kind of wears on you over the course of 4 or 5 months. And so if tonight's a really good opportunity for a kind of get right game for him, though. There's no reason he can't put up 6 to 8 shots against Depaul. And if he was able to get a couple of the fall, who knows what that'll do for him moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. Looking forward to that story on Jason Green. I'm a big fan of. Again, I watched him in middle school. I wasn't a creep or anything there. Had somebody that was going to the same middle school. And so the 7th and 8th grade championships in the city were pretty good. And then, of course, awesome. He was really good at Millard North. John, as always, we appreciate it. Enjoy tonight, late night at the Chai. Hey, will you be in Cincinnati on Saturday?
I will not be in Cincinnati on Saturday, but after that, not Seton Hall next week because, not going to travel for what that game should be on paper. But I'll be at everything the rest of the way. Minus Seton Hall and in Cincy on Saturday. That'll be a really good one, though. I remember last year, right around this time, Kyle Neptune said, "This is our Super Bowl," and then Trey Alexander hit a buzzer beater in Philly. And this is kind of Xavier's Super Bowl this year. So we'll see if Trey Alexander comes out of the woodwork and hits another game winner in Cincy.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be insane.
John, we appreciate it as always. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
That's everything for Xavier on Saturday. That's their ticket into the NCAA tournament. The Cintas Center, which always seems to get jazzed up for Creighton, will be a little bit more. That'll be a fun game. That's the game that you go, okay, Creighton's ready for the NCAA tournament. 80-65 is my prediction tonight. So if you're doing the math, a late backdoor cover for Depaul.
Really?
Yeah, I just I can't go there because I was looking on a model here. This is going deep into the weeds.
Yeah.
Creighton 1-2-1 against the spread when favored by 16.5 more points this year. Depaul is 1-0 against the spread when they're playing at least as a 16.5-point underdog.
Like we said earlier, maybe a big lead
what
that
a
dwindles
massive
down
sample
later.
size you're working with there. I'll take the Ty Davis game for 400, Alex, and I'll roll with the Creighton Blue Jays minus 16.5.
Creighton covers, but it gets a little close at the end. They get up by as much as 27. They win by 19.
This game might end up on bad beats on SVP.
That's true.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
Wouldn't surprise me.
some guy from the stands comes out and hits a three, and you're like, damn, they covered.
Creighton ends up winning by 15. They're like, why is everybody booing?
So one thing John said, I got Kalkbrenner Player of the Year, but I got Ejiofor as the Defensive Player of the Year. St. John's is getting something, but even more so, Ejiofor is St. John's since the 1st of January has been the most efficient defense. He's a guy, like, look at him against UConn. He's a guy that can switch with all five.
Dude,
and
so good.
I mean, he like put Caravan in a blender. I just think he's the best defensive player on the best defensive team. Not to take anything away from Kalkbrenner. I think Kalkbrenner's Player of the Year.
Easily.
I think Ejiofor is the Defensive Player of the Year.
Ejiofor also, and this is a Patino thing, and you know what I'm talking about in the post, he does these slight little like dirty pushes, like these slight little illegal moves that the referee who's seated right behind him can't really see, and it really affects the inbound pass, and it puts himself in a really good positioning. That's all coaching, and that's just all nuanced low post defense that he brings. It's that, like, it's the obvious he switches everywhere and he's super athletic and long, but once you see defensive players like that start nudging the guy a little bit forward so he's too ahead of the pass and that way he can get up on him and the dribble is worse, that's when you know, oh, no, this guy knows how to play defense. And Patino, obviously, Coach of the Year, has done one hell of a job, but I just don't get the RJ Lewis and Cam Jones.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense to me. I think it's Kalk all the way. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's got every single major statistic in terms of offense. He's higher than those guys. And then he's a much better defensive player than both of them.
Yeah, and there's no fatigue either. Like, people are like, I'm tired of Kalkbrenner. I just think this year with Defensive Player of the Year, he's got some competition.
I agree.
But I would give up Defensive Player of the Year for a straight time to win Player of the Year in the Big East.
Heartbeat.
All right, Brandon Vogel still to come from Counter Read before we're done on this Wednesday edition of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, remember this as you navigate your way through the college football playoff and the takeover by the Big Ten and the SEC. Weaker meat, strong shall eat. You want to put that on a T-shirt?
I don't understand it.
I like food, so yeah.
Weaker meat,
yeah. Strong shall eat.
So just the strong beat the people who they're supposed to beat? Is that kind of what that is? Am I an idiot?
The weak conferences in college football. They are.
I'm with you.
Gotcha.
I thought
shall eat.
I
It's
thought
actually
you
a Bible verse.
I thought you were talking about intra-conference. I got you. Yeah, absolutely.
I found it funny yesterday. I think it was Stuart Mandel said that pressure is mounting on the Big Ten and the SEC. What pressure?
What pressure?
And it doesn't matter. You think they're going to stop because of public pressure?
Yeah, that's out the window now.
Is it like Billy Joel pressure or the pressure that I get for my water when I don't pay OPPD? Well, which pressure?
Or OPP?
I
you know
I
me.
had an argument with OPPD.
What was your argument?
They double charged me.
Okay.
Charged me twice. And I called them. I go, heck's going on? You know?
They double charge you for water?
For my
utilities?
My utilities. And they double charged me. And I go, what the heck's going on? And they go, well, you paid the bill on the 21st. And then we had an auto payment set up on the 24th.
Oh.
And I go, I didn't set up the auto pay. They're like, well, when you paid, your card automatically gets into the system, and then there was an auto pay or whatever. And so I got charged twice.
So you have a credit?
I go, no, I need that money. I go, I need gas. Like I'm driving tomorrow. And I go, I need that back right now. So they sent it back to me. But I shout out the woman on the line who did a very good job. But I was a little teed for a second because they're like, you have a credit. I go, no, I don't. I do not have a credit.
So you tried to pay. You have auto pay set up, and then you tried to pay?
Yeah, I was just trying to get ahead of the bill, because I was like, oh, I'll just get it away now. I just want to know where my current bank account stands, because I had some plans with some people that you needed. I spent a lot of money over the weekend with the plans that I had with people. I just wanted to get the right outlook of what I had in my bank account, so I went ahead and I paid my electric bill in advance, so I could do the math in my head. For 80 for Bigelow. 40 for the game. Here we go. This and
he
that.
Was that expensive?
Well, I mean,
he's a good date.
I'm kidding. I don't know what. I typically, when I go out to just bars, I say anywhere from $40 to $60 is what my expectation of what I will spend.
That's fair.
Wow.
Well,
fair.
Well, I
Where
take
are you
that
guys going
for what Matt's saying. I
what
get
are you
it.
Drinking
in our day, it meant 20 to 40.
But I also count in the food we eat, during that. So because we eat before and the drink, so there's a 40. If just the drinks after, we're just doing drinks,
everything's expensive.
20 to 25. But if you're adding food, it's 40 to 60.
Do you guys rotate who picks up and who pays?
Yes.
Okay.
We do. When we're eating, we're separate bills, but when we were at different bars, we rotated who bought what drink.
Do you, in this bromance that is going to the next level, do you say, when he drops you off, do you say, hey, can you text me when you get home?
No, but I do get a text in the morning that says, hey, man, I had a really great time.
Is there emojis or no emojis?
I send a thumbs up. I send him the dad thumbs up right there. Bang, bang. You too, Bigelow.
This is nice.
Is there gifts involved?
Beer and champagne from the homie inn.
Hell yes.
Okay.
If I ever went anywhere, I would go to the champagne place just to see it.
Are you guys completing each other's sentences now?
No, we're not. But we are planning on going to another basketball game in the near future. Which he's my basketball buddy. I told you. I think he's fun to watch games with. He's smart and he knows when to talk and he knows when to shut up. That's what you need when you go to a basketball game with somebody.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
But there are some games that I go to, to social.
Yes.
I go downtown. To work, I go to 67th and Center. To go to be locked in, I go to the rail yard. And that big building that is adjacent to the rail yard.
That's how I felt with.
I don't think I've ever gone to a Creighton game and been super locked in. I'm I'll be social and people want to talk, I'll talk.
I go to every game and I'm kind of locked in. But for me, when Nebraska played Stony Brook or Houston Christian or those lower level schools, that's a social event. All right. I'm there to be social. And then, when it gets tight, which it did in both of those games, I start looking all right, what the heck is going on? And then I get locked in. But if we're going, regardless, when Creighton was playing, I went to the UConn game and the Marquette game. I don't root for Creighton, but I was still locked in because I'm
that'd
watching
be different.
The game.
It's all about the
opponent. Yeah. That's a competitive game. Now, if
You're going tonight. You're going to you know what?
I don't give.
I want to see
damn.
as many people as possible.
I'm just going as kind of a social thing.
I'm like, hey,
even if I go.
Chris Holtman, Ohio State looked really, really good. They should never have hired Jake Diebler.
And
get close enough to Florida, ask that question.
That'd be a great question. I'm going to ask that to Brandon Vogel. There needs to be a study done of the success rate of interim head coaches, interim to full-time head coach. I need to know what the actual, because we all say
I'm telling you what it is. Not good.
No, it's not good. But we always have that trope of you never hire the interim. You never hire the interim. I've never seen an actual number. I would like to see an associated number with the you never hire the interim trope. Wouldn't you? I mean,
Pat Riley wasn't an interim, was he? Because he was hired mid-season. I think he was made the. That's a weird story.
Yeah, but it's more the line of the players wanted him, so there was pressure. They had a little success at the end of the season, and so they got elevated.
But here's my thing, too.
It's like it's Rodney Terry at Texas and it's Jake Diebler at Ohio State.
This whole argument about hiring the interim, the players wanted him. You mean the players who didn't play well enough, who got the other coach fired? They wanted him? You're taking their opinion?
That's the person in the power chair, then that's their issue.
No, if we're firing a head coach because you guys didn't play well, I'm not taking your opinion. If anything, I'm going out and hiring somebody who's going to bring in guys to replace you dudes because you dudes can't win.
A couple of quick responses to your, how much are you spending
oh my God,
$80
40 to 60.
If I'm getting food, I can't believe this is going to be under the microscope. If I'm getting food, if I'm going out and there is food involved, it's anywhere from $40 to $60.
No food, 20 to 40?
20 to 40.
Okay, but is the food inside the bar or is the bar separate?
It depends, right? If we're going to DJ's and Exarban, it's together. Mm-hmm. If we're, out in Lincoln and we're on O Street, then I'm drinking on O, and then I'm going over to Gourmet Grill and I'm getting a gyro. It's all dependent on the situation.
Joey says, man, Matt missed out on bars like the Pipeline that had dollar beer night on a Wednesday. Still sad that place sits empty. God, that was a banger. I had so many hockey pops in there with Mike Hastings.
He did go to wing night at Brothers.
But now they canceled it. You can't even do $2 doubles anymore at Brothers.
That was $1.
Oh, darn. I can't go to the Sausage Factory.
It's not. No, there's a lot. It's a co-ed function. It's a co-ed. Come on, man. You're telling me. I've had some of my best work done at wing night.
I don't judge. $40 to $60 he's spending now is like $10 to $20 nights for us. What a time to be alive. You missed out. Sad for him.
I did miss out. You would have done. My mom used to tell me about penny pitcher night.
Oh yeah, and then things got in the way. Like the SEC said, no, you're not going to do that. So they put a cap on it.
Then they expanded to 12 teams.
It just means more.
All right, Brandon Vogel from Counter Read will join us next. Shocker today out of the NFL. Rob Gronkowski will not be returning.
We all wanted to see that.
He has refuted the murmurs of him going to the Broncos.
Who even murmured? Who was murmuring? Is that a word?
There's a quality.
I like it. It is now.
There's a quality if you can murmur. Brandon Vogel speaks eloquently from Counter Reading. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, let's talk about something that you've written about a lot and we've talked about, and that is non-conference scheduling. So we're about a week from Tennessee, Nebraska, but I got to thinking about this yesterday. Danny White, this quandary of now having 2 open spots on the 26 and 27 may actually solve itself without him having to do anything, and that's because the SEC could go to 9 conference games. What is your read on the current state of college football from the Big Ten SEC when it comes to non-conference scheduling, and what it'll look like even in a couple of years?
I think a lot of it depends on if we're headed towards a auto bid future for whatever the playoff becomes, presumably expanded. Because I just don't know, like, unless you're one of maybe the top 5, 6, 7 playoff hopefuls, which probably means you're in the top 10 in a traditional AP poll, there's not a lot of incentive to play the strength of schedule game. I think it's much more valuable to a team to just avoid a loss for as long as possible. Indiana kind of being the key example of that in 2024. So I'm a bit worried, and I was disappointed to hear the Nebraska-Tennessee series was off, but I understood it at least, because I just don't think you get the benefit of the doubt often enough, based on what we know now, for playing a game like that and potentially losing it. So I would expect non-conference scheduling to become a lot more or a lot less interesting, I guess, if you're a fan of a power conference program.
How do you think TV networks react to that? Do you think the TV networks say, okay, then you're going to start your conference season earlier, and we're at least going to have conference games week 0, week 1, 2, 3. I mean, we kind of already do, but maybe more inventory.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, we've already seen it a little bit, particularly with the Big Ten, though the SEC has done it some too. Of okay, give us the inventory we've already paid for, essentially the conference schedules, and then you get their home games looped in there, and let us spread it out through all 14 weeks once you include buys and off weeks in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of helps offset it. And, it's already the case when, for the most part, Nebraska plays Northern Iowa, or Tennessee plays the Citadel, or whoever it may be, that you're pretty much getting the fans of those programs who are going to watch every game no matter what. And you're not banking on the national part of the equation so much. So spreading it out, I think, seems like probably the most logical reaction.
So we talk a lot about Indiana and how this year they've proven that, maybe it's wins over strength of schedule. But do you think, if we're going back to this year, the national champions, Ohio State, played Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall in their non-con. A year before that, Michigan, the national champion, played East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. Do you think that those two teams playing basically non-existent, like 3 spring training games, essentially, you think that also has had something to do with these teams, changing their schedules and saying, hey, maybe it's better if we just play non-Power 5 teams and then head into conference?
Yeah, it probably does. And I think, we're in a unique spot where non-conference games can kind of be in flux. A lot of times these things have been scheduled so far out. I mean, the Tennessee game was 20 years old, almost. And Nebraska still made that switch. But you bring up a good point with Michigan and Ohio State. Teams that even in a 4-team era would have entered as likely playoff teams, at least what we popularly thought of them. Like, they weren't dinged. Like, just keep winning. I mean, that's ultimately it. Like, the strength of schedule debate probably happens in our current era for teams that are like 10 through 18 in the college football playoff rankings when you get to November, because and I guess, maybe Indiana is a useful example. They still made it in, but the talk was, and after the fact, particularly with how that Notre Dame game went, of, oh, maybe they shouldn't have been. But there was never much doubt going into the selection Sunday that they were getting in, I don't think.
So I think in this new era of college football, we have talked a little bit about the concern of FCS teams and non-Power 5 teams and kind of even when they do have high level players, they end up getting poached and, sometimes the difficulties of recruiting because of the money and all these other things that play into it. But do you think that because now more Power 5 teams might be looking toward not doing hard non-conference schedules, and now more of these non-Power 5 teams and FCS teams will be getting scheduled early in the year, do you think that could end up helping them a bit because they are getting that money to go in and play those teams more often than, say, maybe previously because less Power 5 teams are playing other Power 5 teams?
Yeah, I don't know if it helps them outside of financially, because I think the big piece of this, and we're seeing it, is the rosters for like your average MAC school or choose whatever group of 5, conference you prefer, like they just get rated. They get decimated. And it will make those games mean more. Like, well, Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame this year. When those happen, they'll be even more shocking, I think, than we've been conditioned to believe by the history of college football. But I think those sorts of wins are going to become more and more rare, because even programs like Northern Illinois is a good example, has consistently been at a pretty high level.
Yeah.
Them being able to knock teams off by being like held together and experienced, I think we're just seeing that fade in the sport, and that's too bad from my perspective.
When we roll around to the season, because Nebraska has 2 former 5-stars from the 24 recruiting class on their roster, Williams Nwaneri, coming from Mizzou, where he was a dude in the state of Missouri in high school. Didn't necessarily work out in Mizzou. He was in a transition and only played 2 games. So now he comes here, and this is where he was destined because of a relationship with Mosey. I mean, he went into the portal and had a do not contact designation. So he has found a home. He's got family. He's got some comfortability. He's also got a lot of great tape. Of the portal guys that we have sifted through, there's some that you're like, you know what, Key's going to be fine. He was good at Kentucky. I might be able to go out and throw him passes, and he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But Nwaneri is an interesting guy because he's a redshirt freshman at a position where Nebraska hasn't had a lot of guys that look like him and have the ability to play that position. What is your, baseline expectation in 25 for him?
Baseline expectation, I think, would be based on what Nebraska lost up there. Like, he needs to be on the field the majority of the time. Like, whether he starts or not, some of that depends on how Nebraska chooses to start in terms of alignment. But consider him a starter. I think if he goes on to have the kind of like 5-star ish season that you would have expected from a player like that, from any 5-star, that's how Nebraska kind of elevates it. Because I would agree with you, like Key, McCullough defensively, those are some players where you can just kind of like put them over there and say, okay, I think you know what you're getting. Raising the level for Nebraska to have a special season, like a guy like that probably needs to be very good. Writing about this for tomorrow, Bill Connolly put out his returning production ratings this year, the lowest they've been in a decade. It's bizarre. Like, basically the average college football team is half unproven in terms of production that they're bringing back. I think it's going to be a wild year, which is probably good for Nebraska considering where they've been recently, but it doesn't make it any more certain.
So we're heading into this era of more than likely, it's going to be 14. It might be 16. And then next year, I think the assumption is you're going to have 4 guaranteed SEC teams, 4 guaranteed Big Ten teams in the college football playoff. At least that's the expectation. Let's go to that world, right? You have Ohio State, you have Oregon, you have Penn State, and in a more year in and year base, I guess not last year, but I think you can count on Michigan to continually be in that conversation. Those are probably the 4 teams you'll consistently peg as making the college football playoff for most of the future in the Big Ten. I think a lot of people are saying, hey, it's 16 teams. There's 4 guaranteed bids in the Big Ten. Nebraska should be able to make the Big Ten, make the college football playoff more because of that expansion. But do you think that expectation might be a little bit too high, considering the fact it's still really difficult to break into that pot of 4 when you're playing Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan? Do you think the expectation might be a little bit too much, even though there is an expansion?
I mean, I think it's realistic based on resources and how much it puts into the sport.
Sure.
To expect Nebraska to jump up there. It becomes a matter of frequency, because I think you can kind of leave Ohio State and Penn State in that group most years until something drastic changes, and Penn State's a little, maybe split it, go every other year between Penn State and Michigan. So that's 3. It becomes a question of who becomes that 4th team to rise up. A year ago, it was Indiana. Based on a lot of factors, I would expect Illinois to get a lot of that buzz going into this year, though I think Michigan is expected to bounce back as well. But it gets really opaque after kind of those top 3. So it's not unrealistic. It's a matter of, I think, how measured are people with how often is Nebraska expected to contend for that. And I think they can in 2025, because like I said, I think it's poised to be a wild year. And I think if we go to the auto bid future, that's gonna dim that a little bit. So in some ways, 2025 feels like chaos waiting to happen, and then it might get back to the way things were a little bit.
Hey, we'll get Chatter on this, and I want to go back to that returning production, because Nebraska is overall in the country, I believe they're 50th. They returned 60% of their production from last year. They're 30th in offense. I mean, they return a lot of guys from last year that contributed. Defense, they only returned 53% of their production, which is 74th. So with that said, let's scroll to the top of the Big Ten. Illinois returns the 3rd most production of anybody in college football, the 5th most offense, 8th most defense. You know, they had a good year last year. They were one of the more underrated top 25 teams. They get overlooked nationally, but all that, Big Bert does is they win. They went 10-3. With that said, are they going to be the number 1 most popular, off-the-radar, sexy playoff team in 2025?
I think so. And my expectation for Illinois would be to be very good, maybe even a little bit better than last year, with the same or worse record. They went 5-1, I think, or 6-1 in 1-score games. It's just, and the margin, even though they are primed to take another step forward based on that return in production, which is even rarer than it would have been 3-4 years ago. There's just so much in the margins there that it wouldn't surprise me to see Illinois end up 9-4 this year. Still be a good year. Still might be better than last year. Just things broke a little bit differently. And once you get beyond that, so Illinois, Rutgers, you mentioned them at the top, like there's just this vast middle of which Nebraska is part, where everybody's kind of around 65 to 60%. It's going to be an interesting college football season.
Well, I can't wait to read that article, because Wisconsin is 3rd in the Big Ten. They are 25th overall in the returning production. So I look at their numbers and I go, man, they were a severe underachievement last year.
Sure.
Yeah, I think they were. And it's been interesting. Like Phil Longo took the fall, and I think we all saw that wasn't the best fit there. But defensively, they've also taken a step back. And they haven't had a healthy quarterback either, which factors into things.
I know Matt likes Billy Edwards, who came from Maryland.
I do. I like Billy a lot. I think that might be the key, other than Mordecai and Van Dyke. But like you said, Brandon, he's got to stay healthy. They haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, they haven't, and I mean, and that's going to become key too when you're talking about just how new these teams are on average. You've got some at the very top that you can expect to, I think, be better, and some at the very bottom that you can expect to be better. But 70% of the Big Ten's kind of all in the same boat, and Nebraska's in that group.
Hey, as always, I appreciate the conversation and the content that you and Aaron keep churning out at counterread.com, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you, Brandon.
That's Brandon Vogel. You can follow him on Twitter at Brandon L. Vogel, of course, on counterread.com.
Always best. Always great. I always love that combo. Just I feel like, you ever talk to somebody, you feel smarter after talking to them. That's how I feel about talking to Brandon Vogel.
By the way, Rutgers is 2 on this list. Michigan is 4th. The team that has to replace the most, Barry Odom.
Yeah, I'm not falling for the Rutgers trap again this year. Miss me with that.
How about Oregon only returns 109% of their production. Ohio State, 101. Well, that sucks for them.
Oh, my God. I'd hate to be those guys.
See you in December.
Think about the millionaires.
We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6. Crossovers next.